Well, happy Friday night, and we are back for another round of the AOSC season number 11. Race 197 coming to you from Japan this week, Twin Ring Motegi. And joining me in the commentary box, back from having a week off, Matthew Norris. You back, mate?
I'm back. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. That's exactly what it is. We can't wait to unfold everything that is going to happen tonight. 300-kilometre race. So we're back to the enduro style here, and it's a little bit different. This one, of course, going back to a 4.8-kilometre track. 14 turns on this one, but I have to say, Norrie, that on a lot of these, very tight, which is going to create some good overtaking manoeuvres there. Everyone's going to be hard on brakes trying to get that overtaking shot done, but also going to put a lot of pressure on those brakes. We're going to see who's going to overshoot the corner, who's going to get tangled up, and, we could see a few safety cars tonight.
Yeah, if practice is anything to go by, we've already seen some people in the dirt, in the grass, and just not so sharp on the line because they've been off in the dirt. So it's going to create some amazing opportunities for overtaking if the guys can keep it on the track and make sure they've got the best foot forward tonight.
Well, there's the Jinx Shifters, AOSC season 11, of course, and RaceKraft Simulations. Big thanks to those guys, Johnny and that over in Western Australia, for coming on board for the season as well. And we need to welcome back all of our great sponsors that have been with us for quite a number of seasons as well. Simrigs.com, AJ Insurance Services, Race Circuit Art Australia, Acutas are coming on board as well if you want all your communications or your if you're working at heights equipment and stuff like that. Track Cams for Gourmets to give us some better angles around there for our coverage here on the broadcast. And of course, Team 126 over in America for broadcasting us over there and really getting into the iRacing and loving the supercar stuff I see up on their social media too. They've been getting behind the wheel of a supercar as well since they got into the iRacing world. So, and we do have a couple of prizes actually which they've put out. So we do have the Shootout King Award. We don't have a shootout tonight, but the Shootout King Award, all thanks to Team 126 over there. And at our single lap shootout qualifying tracks, we're putting all the points together, who comes first, second, third, adding up the points, and they're going to get themselves a bit of an iRacing voucher there, so can't wait for that one. But leading us in the series at the moment, obviously, is Corey Shepherd, who's done a fantastic job to put himself back up there. In second, Andrew Dyson. Adam Briggs now moves himself up to third. Brian Borg back and forth, and Jordan Ross rounds out our top 5 in the championship at the moment. So Corey Shepherd needs to put a strong one on tonight. No James Scott at the top, Norrie, and you can ask why if you just joined us, you haven't been here for the first 5 rounds. Well, basically, the James Scott hasn't raced with us every race. He is actually back down in 7th at the moment, but he's only competed at 3 of the 5 rounds so far.
Yeah, and sometimes anyone who's been joining in the season will know that James Scott is absolutely dominant, but when you're not full-time or regular in this series, you do lose touch, and it's evident by Corey taking the top coveted position of the championship so far.
One of the surprising things I shouldn't say surprising, the impressive things last week was actually Adam Briggs, who, he hasn't been hovering in those top 3 at the start of this season, but last week he qualified right up the top. He was in a great battle. It was Jackson Suzlin-Harlow alongside, who's been super impressive in his couple of rounds he's been at this season. Now, he was alongside him on the front row of the grid. Now, he got past Briggs very early on, and they had a bit of a battle going on, but it was a pit stop strategy, and Adam Briggs managed to bring the race home last week and got the win. So off pole to take the win, good on Briggsy, and we want to see what he can do tonight. When we did see the practice sessions before, he was right up in the top 5 in qualifying. At the moment, he's sitting on the 5, so we'll see how he's going to go. Corey Shepherd last week, we had the single lap qualifier last week. Made a meal of his single lap qualifier, ended up coming out of like position number 38 from memory or something, ended up 2nd though in the race. So super impressive. Those short 150k races, but we do the minimum 2 pit stop strategy, put that together, made that work for him, did 2 really early pit stops, drove it all the way home, and Corey Shepherd ended up 2nd. Jackson Harlow in 3rd, Jack Boyd in 4th, and Michael Teleantis, obviously like he likes to do, he likes to start right up the back, made his way up into 5th this week. Now, Tom Freer last week was another one, qualified 3rd fastest. He is currently sitting 2nd fastest at the moment behind James Scott. So Freer is right up there, could have a good qualifying time, and he brought it home in 6th last week. Let's see how he goes.
Yeah, Tom Freer always is pretty quick. James Scott really lining up the corner. Tom Freer's always quick, and a few other guys up there, Rick Kazenstoff, Adam Briggs, Jordy Sinney, they're all up there in the top 6 there so far this session.
You'll wait to see how it goes, because obviously tonight is another one of those things where we do have some minimum pit stops we have to do. We have to get through those as well. You've got 2 fast repairs tonight, 62 laps to do in this 300-kilometre race to get around here. 3 pit stops from memory that we've got to do tonight as well, so they've got to get through those. Well, you might get home on 2 pit stops, or maybe 1 if you really push it, but probably 2 pit stops. But you're going to have to go and do the 3 pit stops if you want to get home and get the points. Otherwise, you do get a disqualification and you don't get to finish the race. As you can see up there in position number 34, Jeffrey Edie from Team 126 Racing, or Jeffrey Eddy. I think it's going to be Eddie. We're just going to call it Eddie. It's got to be the Aussie way. If it's not, it's going to be. So the Team 126 car, they're great livery to see on that car, getting around as well, and joining us here for the AOSC season number 11. But of course, tonight it is the big one coming to you, race number 6 from Motegi, the 300k from Japan. It's fantastic circuit, Nori. And one of the things about this track is, you know, there's like 4 configurations. So you can go oval racing, you got an east track, a west track, and of course we are doing the Grand Prix, which sort of encompasses the east and the west and joins them together. So at some point throughout the race you come around, I think it's the east track there, and you see all the grid marks there, don't you? The form-up grid marks, and you think, I've completed the lap, but no, you haven't. That's the halfway point.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing here at Twin Ring Motegi, but it's a fantastic circuit, and it's world renowned, as you know, great Japanese circuits normally are, and this one's no different. It is a bit confusing, but some people use the bridges to tell them where they are.
Yeah, but one thing I do, this one is a reasonably flat track. We don't see too much hill, and I mean, they did carve this out of a hill, didn't they, this track? They basically leveled a hill out to make this beautiful complex there in Japan, and you see the crowd watching on as they come around, and that Sebastian Tixia doing a fantastic job there for the Premier Racing team and getting himself another lap in position number 11 at the moment there, and he's looking at a time of a 151.86. So really we saw some really low 150s in the previous practice session. At the moment we're looking at a 150.87 from James Scott. It's an afternoon setting here though at the moment. What are we talking about? About 3:30 in the afternoon. It's about 24 degrees on track, somewhere around there from memory. So reasonable conditions for him at the moment, but a little bit of a change from practice. And it was fairly rubbered up there too. Bit of a reset on the track. We'll see how they go around, whether they get in those low 50s at the moment. Tom Freer still holding on to that second position with Corey Shepherd in third. Rick Kuznetsov in fourth. Adam Briggs still in fifth. And we're only talking, you know, half a second between 1 and 5 at the moment, Norrie.
Yeah, it's not much, and it really is the tightest of the tents, as the Team 126 car has a rotation there. And yeah, it's really tight at the top end of the field. It's literally thousandths of seconds, so these guys really do need to push and find the extra micro tenth.
Yeah, they're going to have to hit. I do like this one though. I did a few laps this week, don't get me wrong. I'm nowhere near what these boys are doing, or these boys and girls, but you know, very hard on braking. You've got to push yourself quite a bit in this one. Yeah, push yourself right down into those corners. Hard on the brakes. Get it wrong though, there's a bit of grass. It's, you know, that's the good thing about this one. It's not the concrete jungles that we've been to before. There's a little bit of a sand trap. There's a little bit of grass to run off of. I think we'll see a bit of elbows out probably on the first couple of laps while they find their way. But 62 laps, you would think that most of them just take it easy on that first lap. Just get in your line. Try not to push too hard on this one. We have seen the pit stop strategies in the endurance races. Get people from the rear of the grid all the way up to the front. I mean, we saw Corey Shepherd do that in a 150k race. 300ks means you don't have to do it all in the first couple of laps.
Yeah, you got time to get there, and if you use your time carefully, you'll get there in one piece.
That's all you need to do is get home in one piece. 300ks to do it here tonight. You can see up on our screen, it's still Scott leading us in this one. Tom Freer second, Corey Shepherd in 3, Rick Kuznetsov, then Adam Briggs. Those 5 locked in. We check out Sean Lindsell at the moment in 17th position, the Alco holder entry, and see what he's doing as he comes around. Another purple sector there from Corey Shepherd, I noticed. So he is pushing pretty hard at the end of that lap. We'll see if he can maybe push on the last couple of corners here. Goes through the S's. We'll get onto the main straight there. Now, this is the actual finish line. We'll come around and see if he can improve in his time. Might have just got a wheel off there. Looks like he's not happy with that one, and he's already locked up and given up on that one. It's going to be a reset really quickly. I'm sure they're probably running very low fuel levels in these as well, so they can try and get those times down as low as they possibly can, Nori.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be running a full fuel set on this one. You'd want green tyres and fuel as low as possible, so you got the best chance to get the pace to the ground. Tom Freer's aboarding this one, though. He's going to have to go again.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few people do that. Once they get out Rick Kuznetsov there, that's an aboard as well, straight off in the RaceKraft Isuzu Mustang. And good to see that team. The Premier Racing team pretty strong at the moment. They've got quite a few people in there, different ranges, but Synergy Sim Racing is another one. You know, the guys, we're constantly seeing him in the top 10 at the moment. And Jordan Ross, and another up and down season, a bit of a yo-yo again, but maybe maybe we will see him come home with the goods. He's had a couple of good finishes. Jordan Ross, 5th in the series at the moment. He's just been outside of a podium finish throughout the season. You know, he's only been there. He's had some 4th and 5th. So hopefully, he's been quite strong though when it comes to when they've had the dual drivers there for the 650k races. So hopefully he'll come home strong today with 300 kilometres to get it done.
Yeah, the endurance races do provide that endurance opportunity to show, you know, good strength as a driver and perseverance over a longer race. And a few of these drivers really do shine when there's some strategy thrown into it. So the 3 stops tonight should definitely help bring their strategy to the fore.
Yeah, I hope it does, and I hope we see some people there. The Haynes are back, and we can see them 7 and 10. So they have been progressively getting better. It's Todd Hayne up in 7 in the Taipan Esports entry. Adam Hayne down in 10th position now. You know, start of the season we saw them, you know, lurking in the you know, latter half of the 20s, I would say, high teens, all those sorts of areas. But now, you know, even last week we did see them come up and step up quite a bit. Now they're both in the top 10 at the moment. Let's hope they can hold on to those positions. So we're just having a look here at Hobbo. Now, Hobbo last week had a bit of bad luck as well. He got himself involved in a bit of an incident there with Brian Borg, which pushed Borgie back in the race quite a bit as well. So I know Borgie wasn't, you know, you can't be happy about that when you lose a few positions. Someone behind makes a little bit of contact. But we're interested to see how Hobson goes this week. And that just pushed him way back down in the pack. And that sort of hurt him in his you know, championship stoush at the moment. Brent Hobson 15th last week. And I'm just having a look at where Hobbo's actually sitting us when it comes to our standings at the moment, because Hobson in 13th position, but he dropped back a couple there, down on 800 points. So we're looking for a better race this week, so he can make up some spots.
Yeah, he'll need to move a bit higher than position 16 to get that one started, but he's on charge tonight. Adam Briggs making it through under the bridge, and he is currently sitting in 5th, so a lot better for Adam Briggs. Teammate, obviously, Andrew Dyson, and he is a bit further adrift.
All right, let's check out Briggsy. Can he go up from 5th position at the moment? He's holding on there. Where does he go? No, he can't beat his two. Oh, yes, he does. It goes up to P3 there. What a drive there from Briggsy in the end. And he has been improving. Last season we saw it, you know, in the top 10 when it comes to qualifying, but unable to really get right up in those the top 2 rows there, really, when we take off. But it's good to see Briggsy having an impressive start again to this season, and his qualifying is really coming on strong. 151.12. Now, I can't see it down to the thousandths of a second on my system, but I can tell you it is thousandths of a second between him and Tom Freer at the moment.
Yes, it is. This is Andrew Dyson though. He is running to the line and he's looking to better his lap. And moves up to P9 at the end of that one. This is Corey Shepherd looking to... Maybe that was P2. P2. So that was an advancement for Corey Shepherd as he does a nice little skid into the sandpit. That's a fantastic departure.
Yeah, I'm just having a look here too at Mr. Hayne. Adam Hayne has just been pushed out in position 11. Let's see if he can come back from that. The brothers, and get themselves back, both of them back in the top 10 at the start of this race. But yeah, it's going to be 14 corners. I think one of the things tonight too we've got to talk about, Norrie's pit entry is probably a bit nicer on this one. You come around turn number 12 and you basically shoot off to the right. Now, you've got a bit of a kink as you go into the pits, which is going to be very hard under brakes. People could make an error there and that could cause them some penalty points, and maybe they get held up in the pits with that one with a penalty. It could happen. But I think it's much easier for the guys shooting off. It's not going to stop the flow of traffic as you come around through turn 13, 14 onto the main straight. But they're going to rejoin before turn number 1. And it was going to be very interesting throughout the race how they do that, because you really want to get out to the left-hand side to take this long sweeping turn 1 and 2, the double right-hander. Yeah,
for sure. You're absolutely right there, Matty. They could, but most often people will get caught out by that kink in pit lane. So it's going to catch a few out. And it'll be interesting to see who gets that penalty done tonight. Remember, we've got a fantastic group of cars out here, and most of the guys in the top 10 do know how to do strategy quite well. So you've got to make sure they've nailed the pit entry to make sure they don't fall foul of that penalty line.
Well, speaking of someone who seems to nail the strategy every week, joining us in the commentary box now is Daniel Lee. Welcome along tonight, mate.
Yeah, g'day, mate. Great to be back and looking forward to this one. We're already seeing some cracking times, as you guys were alluding to, as we come to the conclusion of qualifying. And I just saw James Scott before. He lowered the pole position time a little bit further. 3/10 clear now over Corey Shepherd.
Yeah, that's a fair bit of a gap there because we saw them in the practice session. There was like literally hundreds of a second between those two. Expecting Corey Shepherd probably to get a little bit closer to him in that one. Tom Freer back in third position like he did last week. Briggsy gets relegated down. Obviously, Corey Shepherd jumping up into that second position. So he has improved a bit, Corey Shepherd. There'll only be a couple more laps left out there for most of the drivers, like you say, Dan, because we are getting to the end of the qualifying session. Then it's all hands on deck, but 300 kilometres. And plenty of opportunity there for pit stop strategy to make it up if you're a little bit further down the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys touched on that just as we were getting into qualifying there. 3 compulsory pit stops for the drivers to make tonight, and that's really going to spice up how they play the strategy. I mean, we've already seen that work itself in nicely earlier on in the season. If we think back to Chicago, I mean, we had Thomas Hinz didn't quite get the compulsory stops, and unfortunately it DQ'd him out what was going to be a fantastic result. So something for all these guys to really consider and how they manage the race.
There we go. Jamie Dyke was just up on our screen, and he ends up in position number 14 in that time. Actually improved his time, 1:52.03. He'll reset and see if he can maybe get out. But you can see a few out in the out lap, though, and they're running out of time. As you see the qualifying time up on the left-hand side, we're 26 minutes in to this half-an-hour session. So not too long left to go. We are about to get underway racing here for race number 197. It is season 11 of the AOSC, all thanks to Jinx Shifters and, of course, RaceKraft Simulations over in Western Australia. Up on our screen, though, you can see it is, well, it's Hansen. So we got Hansen up on screen too in position number 5. It's Party Marty. He does like to come and have a bit of a party, Marty, with us, and enjoys his racing out here. As you can see, pulls the Commodore in. How does he go on this one? Doesn't get a better time on this lap, unfortunately, there, but he's definitely up on the tugging that corner there. That double right-hander really at the start seems to be pretty good when the car's under load. It's when you come down to some of the other corners, like I think turn number 10 is a full 180-degree head. It's going to be quite tight. We're going to see a couple of dives on that corner as well.
It's an interesting circuit, this one. I mean, as you touched on, the very long straights that you've got in the opening phase of the lap there between turns 1 and 4 up towards turn 5 before you get back under the bridge there. You see the guys working their way under that little section there. But then you've got to have the compliance of the car to rotate through that mid corner, which is really tricky to do, especially at the back end where there's some very fast sweepers and again, some big braking zones for the guys to work in. So it's a really mixed bag, and obviously qualifying a lot of these guys, as we're seeing so far, going that one lap, trying to just eke out the best performance they can. The next bit's going to be, how do you reset it? What do you do tyre strategy wise with your pressures and that to try and get the most out of the runs when you get into the long event?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key, isn't it, to see where you want to go and how you're going to lay out this strategy. We have seen people go, early strategy and run it home on the tyres, just try and look after that with the fuel as well. I mean, like, you got to do 3 stops. And don't get me wrong, but I believe you probably can get home on 2 pit stops here. So the third pit stop is going to have to be where you want to take that and what your strategy is going to be. What will come into play, though, is a safety car. And my prediction, guys, is we are going to see one on this track.
Look, I'd say it's a pretty fair bet to get that probably in maybe the opening laps as everyone's trying to find their own position. We tend to see these guys have really stepped up the game with getting away on that opening lap, and as a result of that, safety cars not really getting deployed anywhere near as much as we had in previous seasons gone by. So they might surprise us here, but I think if you do get one, it's going to definitely shake it up. And I mean, from the pit lane, what would your sort of input be going forward coming into the strategy? Because looking at it from here, 3 stops, you're going to try and break it up pretty similarly on the fuel and the tyres.
I mean, I'd call this one an even strategy. You want to be able to stop evenly across all 3 stops, and that take the equal amount of tyres, fuel, and really box it home. You will find a couple of drivers that do try and back end the race, so they try and stop earlier straight away and run a long middle sector. That's another way to do it. But I reckon the even strategy is the one that's going to win tonight.
Well, it's really going to come down to qualifying, isn't it? You have a shocking qualifier here tonight. You might want to take that strategy, Norrie.
Absolutely.
So,
but we are seeing qualify poorly.
Yeah, but we are seeing a lot of the names that we're so used to seeing up the top of this grid at the moment, though. James Scott, Corey Shepherd, Tom Freer, Adam Briggs, and then Geordie Sinney now into the 5th position. So those names right up the top when it comes to qualifying at the top of the table. So not surprised to see them. Those big names won't have to fight it out. Adam Hayne now back in 13. Todd Hayne holding on to 10th, the Hayne train there, the brothers. Just having a look bit down. Damien Johnson down in 19 at the moment, which is probably one we need to watch. Dyson here, though, in P11. You want to do better than that. His teammate's been doing pretty good. Briggsy in 4th, and Dyson goes to 10. Only gets 1 position on this one as they come around to complete this qualifying session at the moment, because Netsov can improve on P6 at the moment. He's half a second behind the leader. We're just waiting to see the time come in. Looks like he will not move on that one because Netsov will not beat his time. He's backed off on that one. Oh, sorry, he hasn't finished his lap there. Getting excited there because we've got this double area, really. We've got the east track and the west track, and they combine them to make the Grand Prix.
And it's a very unique circuit that, I mean, we've run here in the past in the smaller east configuration, which is very tricky in its own right when you come through the areas on the circuit trying to navigate the car to go left to right very quick. You basically cut out that whole first turns 1 through 3, and it changes the dynamic of the circuit a huge amount. But I think going back to a more traditional style of the circuit going to be quite good here. And as you say, it will be easy for us to get caught out on that. We're going to have to keep a fair eye on the track map to watch the guys work their way around this circuit tonight.
Only a couple of cars left out on track at the moment to finish this lap, so it won't be too long till we get underway with our race. Of course, race 197 for season number 11 of the Jinx Shifters AOSC, and it's coming from Japan tonight. The twin ring Motegi. I just want to do it with an accent, but I don't want to, so, we'll get it right by the end of the night. I'm just getting the sugar into me, and we are going to be pumped up for a fantastic race tonight. 300 kilometres, roughly about 2 hours. We go around 62 laps here tonight. Can't wait to get things started. Having a look at our qualifying, though, it looks like we will end up in this position. All the cars just coming around. They've all gone into pit lane now. So we are set for our qualifying as it is now. James Scott will lead us away, and he hasn't been here. He's only been here for 3 races out of the 5 so far. He's sitting 7th in the championship. So he'll be looking to get himself another win. Actually, surprisingly, he's had 2 wins, and he's just missed out there with a 4th place out of his 3 races that he has done. So James Scott, though, what do you think tonight, guys? Is he going to dominate again, or will Corey Shepherd take it to him this week?
He will dominate.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in a good position here. I mean, as you say, he hasn't been in this series much this season with other commitments that have sort of gone his way, and it's good to see him doing those things. But it's hard to look past him. I mean, we know how dominant he's been over the past 3 seasons. You'd be a brave man to bet against it.
Yeah, I don't know. Corey Shepherd stepped up his game this season, I reckon, and having some other names in there he's had to contend with. Last week was a real show of maturity there, coming right back from memory. It was position 37 or 38, and then in a 150k race, a very short race, managed to do the pit stop strategy and coming home in 2nd position. That was a fantastic race for him. Tom Freer, though, I don't want to say he's a dark horse because we know he's quick. He's in 3rd again in qualifying. He just needs the race to come his way, and needs a little bit of luck, I reckon. So here you go. This is how the grid's going to line up. James Scott on row 1 there in position number 1 with Corey Shepherd alongside. Tom Freer and Adam Briggs will take up row number 2. Geordie Sinney and Rick Kuznetsov on the 3rd row. Jordan Ross and Sean Lindsell on the 4th row. Brian Borg alongside Andrew Dyson on the 5th row. Todd Hayne and Sebastian Tixia will fill up the 6th row there, as you can see. We move on to the 7th row. It'll be Adam Hayne and Nathan Moore, who will be in 13 and 14. And then we'll go to Brenton Hobson and Christian Smart in the 8th row. Then Jamie Dyke and Rob Bowden will round out row number 9. Damien Johnson and Stephen Varg will finish off your top 20. Then it's back to Stephen Kokoschke and Chris Barnes in row 11. Anthony Visma and Matthew Clout in row number 12. Back to position 25, David Coleman with Marty Hansen alongside. Then in 27 is Nicholas Timors with Jaden Borg alongside in row 14. Greg Sharp and Matthew Brunn will take out row 15. Harry Dodds and Simon Mazzomo in row 16. Michael Schroeder and Alex Newton in row 17. Jeffrey Eddy and Brett Loxton in row number 18. Harry Dodds, we've already been through him. Thomas Hins there up the back. I'm surprised to see that with Sebastian Flock alongside. Aaron Gilbert and Adam Gardner will be out there in row number 20, though, to finish it off. And Brad Radu in position number 41. So, guys, what are we saying about Thomas Hins? I actually didn't even notice him in qualifying. Is he late to get in here at the moment? Just trying to see if he got a qualifying time. Yeah, he was very late into the session. So Hinsey, who sort of, runs around that position 10 mark, not there up the front. I tell you what, watch for Tom Freer tonight. I reckon he could be in for a lucky streak. He's had some bad luck throughout his time here in AOSC, but it's time for him to have a bit of a streak of luck. But James Scott and Corey Shepherd, they continue the fight at the front. Who's it going to be on the start? We've got to get down to turn number 1, and that is going to be the challenge. Who is going to do the double right-hander? Will someone stay on the inside, push someone to the outside? Because once you get a wheel out in that grass, it is pretty slippery. The lights are up. We're about to get underway here. Race number 197 for the Jinx Shifters AOSC. As they all go up red, wait for him to go out. Here we go. We are underway. Check out the start. Tom Freer moves over as well. Jordan Ross moves over. You see a little bit of smoke in the background. There's a fair bit of tyre spin. How does it all play out in this first corner as we go 3 wide down there?
Yeah, really good jump from everyone concerned. They got the cars away nicely. That little bit of wheel spin didn't hurt. Saw a little bit of a brake lock up down the end, but out front, James Scott managed to holding off Corey Shepherd. Freer's retained 3rd, and Briggs holding on to 4th, but the funnel down to the turn 2 there is pretty fierce.
James Scott using every little bit of the track, as you can see him just throw up the witch's hats, tries to distract a few people, just grabbing a little bit of grass on the exit there. People going a little bit wide, as you would expect. Hopefully we don't see too much wheel spin. Bit of a move in the background. Who's that under brakes? Is that Brian Borg pulling up? Might be on the inside. I'm just trying to see if that's Briggs. That might actually not be Briggs. They're a little bit further back, so that might be one of the boys there. Lindsell, that is, in the Alco holder car. He's just got past him, Brian Borg, and happy to make that move done. It looks like they're just starting to settle in now. You can see Kuznetsov there in position number 6, and just chasing down Cini as well, just in front. So we'll see how those guys go in a little bit of a battle as this goes on. But Jordan Ross right behind him and looking like he's got a fair bit of car pace as well, and he'll be looking to maybe make a few positions early on. Another one who hasn't been as lucky when it comes to AOSC 10, but in AOSC 11, the season 11, he's had a bit more luck, Jordan Ross, and we've seen him bring the car home with a podium already this season. So hopefully he can do that again here tonight. Oh, sorry, he's just been outside the podium for this season, but he's brought him home, whereas last season we did see him in endurance. It's a bit of bad luck. They always got spun ended up down the back.
Bit of braking news from the lane. Andrew Dyson didn't actually make the start on that one.
Wow. And he's really in the points at the moment there, from memory, 2nd in the championship. So that's going to play some championship implications there, because he is chasing Corey Shepherd down with 230 points behind him.
Yeah, definitely going to make a tough night at the office for him. We've already got a couple of guys taking the early pit stop strategy, jumping in to knock those off. So that was Jamie Dyke and Stephen Varga coming in. Some big drops early on in the event. As you say, Andrew Dyson not making the start tonight. Matt Clowett down 14 positions from where he started, down in 36th position now. So it's unfortunate run down in the mid-pack, but up front, everyone's looking pretty settled and already in that single file line.
Yeah, James Scott just opening out a nice little lead there. It's not a huge lead, but there's definitely some daylight between those cars at the moment, between him and Corey Shepherd. So they'll have to settle in for this one. I tell you what, Corey Shepherd doesn't want James Scott to be comfortable here, because if James Scott's comfortable, we know he can be a very defensive driver when he has to be, and he knows how to run that car right down to the final milliliter of fuel if he has to. They seem to be really close to those fuel stop strategies. As you see, Brian Hall's going to have to fight his way through a little bit of the pack as well. Bit of action happening here at the moment, though, as we head back to Michael Schroeder, who's just sitting there in position number 28 at the moment, and he's got Thomas Hinz in front of him now. So Hinz has had a big move as well. He's had to move up quite a number of positions, 10 positions already, up into P27. So he's had a fair bit of a move, but it was coming off the back. And like we say, we didn't see him in qualifying. Looks like he might have got a lap done very late in that session.
Yeah, he's had a nice jump there. The car looks really straight as well, so he's going to progress his way up forward, as you say, 10 spots. He's got Matthew Brunt. Another one of the Synergy Sim Racing cars there in 26th. Bit of a gap, 0.4 of a second, but early days to be able to close that one down. Let's turn our attention back to the front of the field again. Damien Johnson getting involved in it, looking for a move down the inside as they head down the big braking zone. It's downhill here, and we've seen plenty of guys have incidents, especially in qualifying, where we saw quite a few aborts go through. So head back under the super speedway there, and for Johnson, nice move there as he claws another spot up in the 14th spot.
Yeah, it's definitely these little straight areas as you get that chance to get a bit of run, maybe get a bit of aero, pull you up alongside and try and get the move done under brake. So quite a few more opportunities at this track compared to what we've seen at our last track when we were over at Mosport. So there's a few more opportunities, I would say, on this track to make that overtaking manoeuvre as they come down the main straight there. As you can see up there, it is Newton at the moment. That's Alex Newton and Team RaceKraft Motorsport. Go back to our leaders though, James Scott leading this one away, and you can see Corey Shepherd not letting him get out of sight at the moment, just giving him a little bit of air there, but not too far behind. Then he goes back to Tom Freer. who's got Adam Briggs all over the back of him, and Briggs has been pretty quick too this season. So this could be a nice little battle for third position evolving at the moment. And he's gonna, I don't know if Briggs, he's pretty comfortable there. We spoke to him last week after he got the win, and that's what he said when Sizzle and Harlow went past. He said, look, you know, I was happy just to sit in second position there and just get the laps done and stick to my pit stop strategy. Very patient driver is how I want to describe him. He's very patient, sticks to his strategy, knows what he wants to achieve. So Tom Freer, he can just maintain that pressure, and maybe Freer will make a mistake.
Well, it's going to be tough. I mean, we've seen Tom have some very good drives over the last few seasons, and you know, continuing to get the racecraft and that going further forward for Synergy Sim Racing. So he's going to be a tough competitor. We know he's very good in the form. I mean, we saw the antics from him and our co-commentator Norrie at Bathurst, and you know, all things considered, Tom drove a hell of a race along with Norrie there to keep that car up the pointy end. So they'll do well, don't worry about that. But further back, still plenty of action going on with Brunt, Loxton and Hins all involved in this little battle further down.
There we go, Hins getting another move done there, and will move up another position on this one. So he moves up to P25 at the moment, and now he's got Matthew Brunt in front of him, who were just hanging off the back of that car. Obviously from Synergy Sim Racing, quite a few of the Synergy cars. And who's that there? One of the Coda Sim Sports cars, that Sharpie, is it?
Greg Sharp.
Yeah, there we go, Greg Sharp there.
there.
Yeah, is that Loxton he's run into us as well. So that's where
Well,
they come across, just hit that grass.
Yeah, and a lot of damage down the left-hand side of that car. We might see if we can duck back to a replay to have a look at that one, as race director have a look here. So we've got Sharp out very, very wide there, trying to put a little bit of a move. Loxton down the inside there. The door was open pretty well, and just for good measure, comes around, a little bit of contact at the end there. So it'd be interesting to see how race control take it. I think looking at it with a non-team manager hat on, you'd say the door was left a little bit open there, unfortunately for Sharpie, but he has a big lot of damage, and that's going to set him well down the order.
Well, two fast repairs, remember, in tonight's race. So will he take one of those very early? I mean, 300-kilometre race, 62 laps. You might want to save them once we get down to the pointy end of this race. But Thomas Hins, he just gets a little bit of lock up there and goes wide. He'll have to watch out, though, because right on the back of him, Matthew Brunt. So he's made another position there in the time we've been talking. And Matthew Brunt just going to see if he can stay with him at the moment. Brett Loxton, though, getting around, you can see the damage. A little bit of damage on the other side of this car at the moment. But like you say, that gap was open, and we interested to see how they adjudicate that one, especially with that, dive down. Because once you get two wheels on the inside for Sharpie, I mean, once you're on that grass, there is no pulling those cars up at that point.
Well, no, and at the same time, I think Greg was a little bit balked as well. There was a car in front trying to make a move at a similar, or he was trying to make a move on at a similar time. And when you come into this section, we watch the guys work their way through on the telecast now. You've got the option. You've got pit out, and that might have been the spot there for Greg to try and abort, get that pit stop out of the way. Unfortunately, had the contact, and we've seen the end result of that. So it's tough when you're behind the wheel, as we can all attest to. It's hard making those quick second split decisions, but plenty of time for the guys to work their way back in. And if we get a safety car, it's going to put them back into the hunt.
Gordon Lindsell now, he's dropped back a position there. Brian Ball got him in the first couple of laps of this race now, but now he's got to watch out for Todd Hayne, who's coming through and trying to make this up into the top 10. Well, he's in the top 10. He's trying to make up to position number 9. So Sean Lindsell just not quite on the pace of these guys. He's probably not too far off it, just a fraction of a second behind him when it comes to lap times, and that's where you can see him putting the pressure on there. And we're only talking by, a tenth of a second really on most of the laps as they go round. Let's have a look though on the back though, as we hang off the back of Lindsell's car, and will Hayne get right up in the back this time? And Hayne's got to watch out though, because he's got Tix here behind from the Premier Racing team. Now, what an introduction that has been into their team, and a bit of an injection of enthusiasm and knowledge as well, because since he's joined the team, we have noticed some of the setups have changed a little bit. And Tixia, although he hasn't really been at the pointy end every race, he's had some races where he's got involved in some incidents there and pushed him back down the field. He has shown some pace there. So if it all comes together for him, he could be right up there and a chance to come home in a top 5 finish.
Absolutely. If he just keeps plodding on like he's doing, you're going to see the results come. And for those that are familiar with Simon, has run a lot of GT previous to this. So going from the GT cars back into a supercar is a big mindset change. A lot of downforce, and you go to basically something with 600 kilos. 600 horsepower, not much tyre, and wants to kill you. So it's pretty difficult to wrap your head around, but he's doing an awesome job getting the most of it. As another fantastic little battle here between Hinz and Jaden Borg. Plenty of two wide action with these guys going around.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by Hinz' start, actually. He's really putting the pressure on. I thought maybe he might have been one of those ones that ended up down the back of the field, might take an early pit stop and use that strategy, but he's just decided to try and pick as many of them off through the field as he possibly can at the moment, and maybe that is the right way to do it, and try and get up as far as possible up the field, because, you know, the chances of a safety car coming out in early in this session is pretty high, I would say. That's my opinion. I think it's pretty high. We're likely to see a safety car in the first half of this race. So if you can get yourself up, 15 positions, that's a good start there, and then try and play the pit stop strategy towards the end of the race.
Absolutely, and both of these drivers have already come in for their first stops tonight as well. So it was lap 2 for Jaden, lap 4 for Thomas. So they've already knocked one of those 3 compulsory stops out of the way, as Jaden gives him a little bit of a nudge just for good measure there.
Yeah, well, that's okay. But he's getting through, mate. He's making it happen, and sometimes you got to be a little bit aggressive there if you want to make those up. So yeah, I do apologise. You're right. They have taken some pit stops there, and a few people choosing to take them very, very early, which is not surprising, as Norrie did discuss earlier, didn't you, Norrie? There's probably a strategy to be had for those guys that didn't make it up the front in qualifying.
Yeah, and like you say with Hinz here, I don't think he needs to take that strategy. I think he's just going to try and pick them off Mickey T style. But he's definitely going to give it a fair go. The strategy is there available for those guys down the back who didn't make a great start to try and shortcut their way to the front, but it'll be dependent on how well they manage their fuel and tyres.
Just having a look up the front as well, I mean, they all seem to be spread out. The top 10 are pretty much as they started. I mean, Brian Borg's made one position over Sean Lindsell, and then Todd Haynes made a position as well. But apart from that, they have stayed in the order in which they started. So James Scott's still leading this race. Corey Shepherd in second, then we go back to Tom Freer, Adam Briggs, Geordie Sinney, Rick Kuznetsov, Jordan Ross now in 7th, Brian Borg in 8th, Sean Lindsell in 9th, and Todd Haynes in 10th as they started on the grid. So familiar names, if you've been part of AOSC, if you watched the coverage before, they are some very familiar names that we're used to seeing all the way up there. Rob Bowden's another one this week. I mean, Rob Bowden, let's have a chat about Rob Bowden at the moment. He's sitting down in 15th position. Now, Rob Bowden hasn't had the best qualifying of recently in the last couple of races, so it's great to see him back sort of in the teens again, and he's moved up in the 15th position after qualifying 18th, so that's a good result there for Rob Bowden. Hopefully we'll see him back after this race. Get involved as well.
Well, we've seen Bowden come through awesomely over the past few seasons as well. Tanked have done an awesome job bringing those cars further up, and at the moment too, Rob leading the Driver's Choice Award as well.
And that just shows at the end of each week we get those Drivers' Choice Awards. Really about the guys who've done the hard work. We're not looking for the guys who, they lead from start to finish. Yes, we do look at those guys, but there's also looking for the guys who maybe made an error in qualifying, came back, they used pit stop strategy, they used other things to their advantage or something, throughout the race, and really showed their craft. And that's what it is about, giving that away. And of course, a fantastic prize for those guys. As we have discussed, with the Drivers' Award there, they're going to get a great pedal set there. All thanks to obviously Simrigs.com and RaceKraft Simulations over in Western Australia. Rob Bowden leading that one. Alex Hartley second. Brady Myers as well. Kyle Stokes in there. Briggsy's in there. So you just never know who it's going to be.
Absolutely. While we have a good chat on that, there was a massive moment there for Brian Borg, who was able to save it just in front of Sean Lindsell. Just caught the grass there. He's got the car back on the straight and narrow there. So he's going to be cautious. He's pushing very, very hard to try and bridge the gap now forward to Jordan Ross, although that gap out to 3.5 seconds, so he's got to be cautious there, not to burn those tyres up too quickly.
Yeah, well, it will be a tyre game. I mean, we're not a big high degradation track, but we do have 300 kilometres. If you want to try and do 2 long stints, maybe come home on a fresh set, so you've really got that pace in the final maybe quarter of the race. That could be some of the strategies they're going to try and stick to. So it'll be interesting to see who's willing to try and shoot their tyres up early, and who's just happy to get around and hold those positions and see where the safety cars could play a part, maybe play that game, and it comes in, it might come to you. The race might actually come to you if those safety cars come out at the opportunistic time.
Absolutely. having a look back in the, or just around the top 10 there as we catch up with Paul, still leading this little train. He's got Linsell involved in it, Haynes is in there, Texie has closed the gap down to these guys. We've got the second of the Type N Esports in Adam Haynes just closing in on the back of this little group. So it's going to be 5 cars very, very shortly. And actually Brenton Hobson might be able to latch onto this one as well if he's fortunate enough there, and that will be a really good fight as we keep an eye on these guys working through. Nice livery on the Type N Esports car. That car got a bit of an update last year, and it's very, very sharp out on circuit.
It certainly does, those guys, and the brothers trying to bring it home tonight. Like you say, Borgie just leading this little train. You can throw a tea towel over these 4 who are put together, of course. As you can see up the screen, Borg, Lindsay, Payne and Tixia, but it's not too far behind them. They're definitely, they can see the cars in front. They've just got to catch them. We've seen it before. 2 or 3 cars get caught up in a battle, and you know the cars further back, they go wide or something. They can make 2 or 3 positions all in once. It happens all the time. A lapse in concentration from one car at the front that is so close together, and it just brings the whole train unstuck. Basically, all the carriages fall apart, and the final carriage goes flying past and makes about 3 or 4 positions. So, you know, not a bad position to be in if you sit behind this little train and you're not faster than them, but you can maintain that speed and just stay within that proximity.
And in doing so, you know, apply a lot more pressure onto the guys in front. So it'll be good to see how they do it. We'll see a little bit of a lock up there for Todd Haynes. So he's got to be cautious because this is going to put Sebastian Texier in a position. He's already gone very defensive, trying to mitigate that move there as he holds on just up towards the Bridgestone Bridge there. And that's a good bit of driving just to maintain that position.
Interesting at this point of the race, though, being so early to have to be defensive, Norrie. I mean, you start being defensive now, you're going to sacrifice some of your lap time, really, some of your speed out there. At this point in the race, what would you do in this position? If you don't quite have the pace, would you let the car go by and maybe stay behind, use a bit of drafting if you can, and stick to the pace, or would you be defensive like this?
Hit the nail on the head there, Matty. If you're defending at this point, it's probably best to get in line and get behind the car. Use the draft, because otherwise you're going to use fuel, tyres and time, and you're going to lose that buffer to the cars ahead. The car behind, if it is faster, is going to be your best way to slingshot further up the road.
Yeah, so we'll be interested to see how long he can hold on this one. Looks like he's doing a nice job now. Maybe he just made a little bit of wheel spin out of one of those corners there, and that's what we saw, the gap close up. That sometimes can happen, and now just opens up a little bit. But Tixie will be looking to just regroup and see where he can make that move done again. There's a couple of opportunities here on this track where he can make that happen. As we check out a bit of a replay here, and Michael Trotter, is it, coming around? There you go, the Type N Esports. There we go. Oh, there we go, under brakes, and looks like he made contact. Who was that in front of him? Is that, I want to see who that was actually, because I'm just trying to see who that was. I'm trying to remember the livery there and grab. Is that Harry Dodds?
Yeah, it might well have been there. That was a big moment there, and that was one of the tricky parts of this circuit. When you go away from the long straights in the opening section, you've got that really tricky, almost flip-flop section where it's a very fast sort of flowing chicane area to navigate through, and if you just get the wheel a little bit wrong there, or you miss the braking zone just a touch, the end result being what we just saw there, a little bit of contact and off the road. Fortunate, looks like both cars were able to keep it off the road, however, off the wall, so should be able to get back in underway and only some minor spots lost.
Yeah, as you can see, we're still looking at this little bit of a battle here on the moment. We are on the camera with Todd Hayne, who's in the middle. He's got a battle in front of him, Brian Borgshaw and Lindsell in front of him, and then behind him Sebastian Tixie and Adam Hayne just following him up. Mate, it goes back to Brenton Hobson too. You can just see the nose of that car involved in this little bit of a battle pack at the moment, and just off the back of them, Damien Johnson will come through now. He's made up 5 positions already, up into P14, so didn't quite have the qualifying he wanted. Came out of position number 19, made up 5 positions at the moment for Damien Johnson on the back of this little pack. James Scott still leading now. Corey Shepherd is only half a second in. So Corey Shepherd, although he's given him a little bit of daylight, he's doing exactly what we just discussed, Norrie, maybe. He's just sitting behind, holding that pace, using a bit of the draft, maybe letting James dictate the strategy for this race, possibly.
Well, that may be the way he's going with it, and, you know, kudos to him if he's trying to do it that way. It definitely gives him better tyre and grip advantage if he's going to sit behind.
Well, we've seen Corey Shepherd be a bit of bad luck in the Supercar E-Series, but he's definitely been strong there, and he was very early on in round number 1. He had a really good qualifying session as well. So Probably learning a lot from doing that as well. You see a brake lock up there from Sean Lindsell. That'll hurt him going to that corner. Brian Ball get a bit of a reprieve there, although he wasn't right. There was no overtaking manoeuvre, wasn't closer. Guys, what's the go? Who's the magic man keeps putting those witches hats out? Because the guys don't like them. They just keep getting rid of them. Look. I just don't know. I don't know what the guy. I want to know who the safety guy is that runs out and puts those back up, because he's risking life and limb.
And risking witches hats because he keeps destroying them.
I'll tell you what, the virtual budget for witches hats on this race is going to be quite high. Very, very high. Lucky they haven't got stuck under the cars actually. So we have seen a few engine blow-ups and stuff throughout the last season, the end of last season, since the new build of the supercar. We have seen quite a lot more engines go up in flames and smoke. So hopefully we don't see too many of those get stuck under cars. You see up on screen though, that's Rick Kuznetsov now sandwiched between Geordie Cini and Jordan Ross. Now these guys playing a little bit safe, I reckon, at the moment. I've seen Jordan Ross, he can be super aggressive when he wants to be, but looks like he's just settled in there behind Rick Kuznetsov at the moment. So the Premier Racing Team car is sandwiched between two Synergy Sim racing cars, and they won't want to get nostalgia to Synergy Sim racing cars. We've seen it in other races in the season where we go, now they're Synergy teammates, they're not going to do it, but they make contact. And they put themselves further back in the race. Now they won't want that to be happening here at the 300k race for round number 6.
No, not at all. And I think the biggest one where we saw that sort of really take full effect was at the Red Bull ring. We saw the guys really tripping over themselves, trying to work their way through, and that was one of our bigger enduros, the 650ks, but a little bit unorthodox for the team there, and I'm sure plenty of stern words were had after that and just trying to get themselves back on track again.
So you can see James Scott and Corey Shepherd have just opened up a nice little gap over Tom Freer, who's still in front of Adam Briggs. They get their own little battle going on for third positions. We see a couple of people jump into the pit. Brenton Hobson and Damien Johnson, looks like they have headed into the pits for their first pit stop.
Surprisingly, not too many guys down the lane. Now, there is one car that already completed 2 stops so far out here by the looks, and that's Sebastian Flock. So, first of our guys to get 2 out of the way. He's only got 1 left tonight, so he's in a really good position here while everyone else in the top 10 not yet done one, and for the few guys that have come through, only 1 in the books.
I'm just trying to see if we can grab some incident points on him. Maybe he's had to come for a fast repair, or do you think that might be strategy, Norrie?
No, I don't think he's altogether there, because he's been slipping and sliding since Dan started pumping up his tyres. So pressures are probably a bit out in that car.
Well, hopefully Sebastian Flock can regroup there, and very big difference between a standard setup in one of these cars when you throw a decent setup in around this track. I know I tried a couple of different setups on here, and it makes a big difference, especially when you're trying to get off those, you know, you're clicking in the top of 5th, maybe 6th gear, and you're trying to get it back down to 2nd gear. So we'll see if they can hold on there, as that's Aaron Gill just up on the screen. The Jinx Shifters Commodore getting around there. Just takes it out there, doesn't use all the Rebel strip. He's just going to stay there and hold on to that one nicely. We've got Borgie in front of him as well. Of course, that is the Jaden Borg at the Code Sim Sport entry just in front. So the Team Jinx Shifters there will try and chase him down. This is the battle at the moment for 31st position. Behind them you can see, of course, our Team 126, Jeffrey Eddy from America there. The boys streaming it over there. And a big shout out to all of our friends over in the US of A. And hopefully you're enjoying a lot more freedom than us Australians at the moment. And we hope you are enjoying all those freedoms, as we most of us in the eastern states locked down here in Australia. All right, a couple more people in the pits. Todd Hay and Adam Hayne, the brothers, have decided we are teaming up and going in at the same time, and they're going to come out and battle the pack together.
It's a pretty good move for these guys. I think getting that early stop kind of dusted now is going to set you up better for the race. We're already 13 laps into 62 here. 23 minutes just a lap, so plenty of time to work it out, but good strategy so far earlier on. The race, so a little bit, we're starting to calm down a little. Just having a look at the track map here as we watch a little bit of the move further down with Craig Sharp just losing a position there to Brett Locks, and the field's really started to space itself out with all these pit stops starting to cycle through as we get the track map up on screen. So it's going to be interesting to see where this plays out. While we're having a look at it and things are just getting a little bit quieter here, some interesting news came out from iRacing during the week with some very big updates coming to the service and some awesome new Aussie content as well.
Yeah, I do believe we're going to have a couple of new tracks.
We're going to get a sand down and a wind down.
Yeah, it's great new circuits coming on board, and cannot wait to see what they're able to do with that. That'll really shake up some of the series and how they run there, and also we're seeing some other cars along the way coming through, some new Porsches and an update I saw to the Ferrari now, a new Evo version of that GT3. So some awesome stuff coming through it. But gents, what do we think about the circuits with Sandown and that coming in? That's going to be a really interesting one to see how the drivers take to that.
No, I'll let you go first, mate.
I gotta say, as a proud iRacing member for many years, to have something like Sandown joining the iRacing service is fantastic. To have something like Winton, which is a circuit which has always been underrated, but it's a fantastic little country charm. It's going to be fantastic to roll around those in not only just our V8s, which are great cars, but to roll around in anything really. To be able to go to the racetracks, Australian racetracks, and not leave home, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and I think, especially with this, like everyone in the supercar series, I mean, we watched it on TV, you've been part of it, you haven't been to actually one of the circuits, you've watched it on TV. To be able to come on iRacing, be able to do that, I think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for the Australian side of it, but I think also to show off some of the great tracks. Like you say, Winton is an absolutely fantastic track. Yeah, it's a little country town out there in country Victoria, but fantastic, very grippy track too once they've been there as well. So I think it's going to be great for Australia, it's going to be great for motorsport in Australia, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to provide a really unique set of challenges for all these teams now to adapt to as well, and get the most out of these cars as well. And as I say, Winton, there's not much runoff. I mean, there's plenty of runoff area in the grass there, but the circuit itself is very technical, a lot of left-to-right flip-flops to get through, and really going to test the teams to see what they're able to get out of these cars.
Well, it's great to see that we are getting more on iRacing all over the world and including Australia, and there's still a couple more tracks I'd love to pick up, but we'll see what happens in the future. But big things to come. We'll see what sort of announcements we get out of AOSC maybe for season number 12, because I'm sure if we got new tracks in Australia, they'll definitely be on the list of places that we want to visit. Who's that going into the pits now? I'm saying, well, that's Corey Shepherd. I think I saw the Mr. Antenna Mustang go in, and I had to double check that up on my timing screen to sync with the top of the roof, but Corey Shepherd has decided he is going to go out of sync with James Scott and come in on lap number 15 and get this pit stop done, boys.
Yeah, it's a bold move there to come in. Be interesting to see though, will he get James Scott to cover off and take that move in next time by, because we've seen that gap pretty well since the start of the race hover at that half a second moment, and with some fresh tyres maybe going on board that car and a bit more fuel, he's going to be a very good competitor out there.
I'm just looking at where he's going to rejoin though, because he is coming out now, and he's going to be at the front of a little bit of a train of cars. Where's he about, position 14? Yes, it is. So the Premier Racing Team, Mr. Antenna entry, will come out in position number 14. Early pit stop was only half a second behind our leader, James Scott, until that pit stop. Now, James Scott, Tom Freer, Adam Briggs, Jordy Cini, Rick Kuznetsov, Jordan Ross, they have not pitted. If you just joined us, what I have noticed though, Sean Lindsell has got past Brian Borg, so maybe there was a moment there for Borg. We have seen him have a couple. It looks like Sean Lindsell has got that position back from Brian.
Yeah, I think a little uncharacteristic for Brian there. We know how good the Premier Racing cars have been in a straight line, and setup-wise, they've been very smooth, gripped up, and look very easy to drive. It's a little different tonight, though. Borg just struggling a little bit. The rear end's definitely been a little bit more lively than probably what we're used to seeing watching these guys go around, but take nothing away from him. He'll get his head around it and press on hard for the rest of the night.
Well, James Scott, I think he'll have to be watching his timing screens at the moment, because without having someone behind him to maintain that pressure, he's probably got to really watch all the screens. We see a bit of an off from Tom Freer. Is it that's not good from him? He's going to have to go through the exit lane. Oh no, he's put in the pits. Sorry, I thought he might have wrong part of the track there, boys. I'm getting carried away in the back section now. But you see him pull off there, and that's good. He's going to go in the pits as well. Maybe that is because of Corey Shepherd, he's decided, you know what, I'm going to come in, because Jordy Cini and Jordan Ross have done the same.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it's the trifecta of synergy cars all coming in together, and the team orders well in effect there, so they'll look for those guys to come through. We'll have to keep an eye on Corey Shepherd. I think he probably missed that stop by a couple of seconds there, because he did come in behind a few competitors when he rejoined the circuit. That might hurt him, especially if he's taken tyres here. To have a look well down the order now, we're down in 23rd position. David Coleman in that Fishy Motorsports car, he's going to dive out of that little group and head on into the lane, but he was in a really solid fight there with Bowden, Hayne, Hins involved in that, and Loxton as well. So that's a good little train of cars, and he's just exited sideways and got his first pit stop now out of the way.
Well, the Synergy boys come out, and it looks like they're going to get split up to one car just going in between them. You might be right. It might be a great little team strategy there for them all to come in, because if they can get behind each other and push and push and push and stay fast rather than battling for positions, they could possibly push that little train of Synergy cars a little bit further up, maybe try and close that gap to the leaders to fight it out in the final, 20 laps of this race. So we'll see how that goes. We are only on lap number 16. We're not a third of the way through, so they're coming in a little bit. We talked about the optimum pit stop strategy with you, Norrie. You said, cut it down to third, basically. Oh, sorry, we got 3 pit stops, don't you? So it's 4. So, yeah, it's about right, isn't it? Lap 15, lap 16.
If you counted it that way, yes.
So if you're coming in on an even strategy, that's what you want to be. Maintain the most tyre grip out there, I suppose, get the new tyres on and keep going. Whereas James Scott just happened to stay out there, I suppose, while he's got some clean air at the moment. It doesn't look like too many people around him. They are starting to pit though. He's starting to catch up to some lap traffic, but everyone's starting to come in the pits now. It looks like Briggsy's in because Net's off. Brian Ball's come in as well. They're all starting to come in now, and I see Sean Linslow had a bit of an off track as well. It come up on my screen, so he might be pushing on, but he has not decided to. Yes, he has come in the pits as well, so he might have gone off there, and then he's come in behind Brian Ball. Might have lost that position as well, as we're staying on board now with Simon Mozomo in the Texence Fitzstee Motorsport. I haven't actually seen that name come up this season.
Well, Mozomo been a bit of a stalwart in the Aussie Supercar Series for as many years as I can remember being on the service, and has moved over to doing a bit of GT stuff, but definitely switching back to the supercars a little bit more readily now. And car looks a little bit tough out there tonight, but look for him to press on as he gets almost a little bit of a nudge there. That's Jordan Ross in behind. He just got overtaken there by Jordan Sinney. And these guys are not leaving much on the table here as they head down towards turn 3.
Yeah, you think you'll make this one pretty easy there under brakes. Comes down the inside. They get rid of the cones again. God, we're going through some cones tonight. That is going to be a big budget next time we come back here to the Twin Ring. I think we're going to have to put a huge budget in with race control.
Yeah, I think it will be the biggest budget of the night.
Well, the Synergy train, they join it up. They put the carriages together. They try and push them to the outside there. And that Visma looks like he's going to get pushed to the outside there, and the Synergy boys are working as a team now, which is what they really need to do. Geordie Sinney and Jordan Ross now just lining up. They go past Simon as well, who's looks like he's gone by. Has he gone by? Stephen Varga has gone by. So it looks like one of the boys has just dropped off in the background. Actually, we've actually lost one of the boys there. A number of spots by the looks of it as they move backwards. So yeah, those boys working hard. Is that James Scott in the pit about to pull in?
He'll come get his first stop. Sebastian Texi is still not in the lane yet. He's going to go press one more lap, and that'll give him a lap lead under his belt there. Nora, having a look at the stop times from everyone, we're seeing some pretty interesting stuff up and down the timing and scoring board there. What's your read on what most of these teams are looking at the moment as far as stop times?
Oh, there's a fair play of them there, Dan. I've got 21, 33, 17, 20. So some of the guys will be taking extra fuel, and some of the guys will just be doing tyres and the bare minimum fuel, because they'll be working to a lap number later in this race. But at the moment, it's fairly standard across the lead cars. They're all looking about the same 20, 30 second mark.
Yeah, it's interesting strategies coming through. Looks like James Scott with a very long stop there, 30 seconds stationary for him. And that's dropped him down into that 4th position now. So he's behind Shepherd and Briggs, and a little bit of time to find up if he wants to close up to those trio as well.
Be interested to see if that's a strategy though towards the end of the race. Maybe put just a dash of fuel in right at the end and make that up, because where they are, if I have a look out there at the moment in position number 4, he'll be coming up pretty quick actually on Adam Briggs. I don't reckon too much when we catch up to Briggs and start to apply that pressure, although Briggsy is going to be a very hard competitor to get past if he wants to be. He could probably hold him up. I don't think he will. He'd probably decide that he could probably use James Scott to just get behind him and try and make his way up and close that gap up to Corey Shepherd as well, because we know Tixie is going to come in and say Corey Shepherd really is the effective race leader at the moment. Adam Briggs in 2nd and James Scott in 3rd. Tom Freer now putting himself back on in 4th. Although we do see that Tixie up the top, hasn't come in for the stop yet, and likely to come in very shortly to take that first pit stop.
There it is.
And right on cue, he's in the lane as well. So you didn't put the mockers on him, but definitely listen to what you were saying there, matey.
Someone has to. No one listens at home, mate. So I've just got to come on this broadcast so someone listens to me.
You're
What
a
did you say?
braver man than I to say that.
Yeah. I said it really quietly. So that's Sean Lindsell now and Thomas Hinds there locked in a little bit of a battle now. Where is Hinds sitting at the moment? How many positions has he decided to make up? Up into position number 20 is 7 positions up now. 17, sorry, positions up. So he is steadily pushing his way through. And Sean Lindsell there, he had a bit of an off track there before he went in. Who's that in the background that's off on the track as well? I'm just trying to see who that is. It's just gone off. Is that Visma? Yeah,
Yep.
Anthony Visma actually in the background there. So Sean Lindsell had a little bit of an off there going in the pits before and lost his position to Brian Borg. And Tixia comes out behind Brian Borg now, and Sean Lindsell will go, just get the move done there, Kenny. Hinds might be able to take advantage of Tixia as well, but might be a little bit too far back.
Well, I think for Hinds now, he's kind of in a little bit of no man's land. He came in on lap 4. It was a very short stop for him, only 12 seconds stationary, and you wouldn't have expected probably tyres to go on that car at that point in time, being it was only 4 laps into the race. But for the guys around him, the likes of Lindsell and Tixia, a little bit longer stop, 22 seconds for Lindsell, 30 seconds there for Tixia. You'd expect tyres on both of those cars. And I mean, they came in lap 16 and 18 respectively. So they're probably in much better tyre conditions than what we're seeing from Thomas Hinds at the moment.
So what's going to be interesting now with Adam
wait.
Briggs and James Scott? Oh, who was that off in the background?
Dodds.
Oh, Mr. Dodds. Just gets the car sides. It looks like they might have got out of jail free there. Was there any contact made? Didn't look like it. All right, we see the Dakota Sim Sports guys up on our screen there, just out in front there. Jaden Borg with Greg Sharp behind. Aaron Gilbert, though, in the Jinx Shifters team car, and right behind Nicholas Timor is the Premier Racing team. Can't miss that bright colour, can you?
No, the pink stands out very, very well on circuit, and the guys will be keeping an eye on that one. As Varga there now getting a move. That's going to get him up into 11th position in the United Sim Sports entry there, so good drive for him. Up 9 spots. We did hear too in the chat, unfortunately Andrew Dyson had some electrical gremlins that stopped him getting into the race tonight. So fortunately not able to take part in it, but no doubt chilling out with bit of that smoked meat there and a few beers watching the race unfold.
The Phoenix Smoker, mate. He's got no excuse now. He's going to have to get that fired up and just start cooking so he can give Briggsy a bit of a winning feed.
That's it.
Let's hope Briggsy gives Briggs a bit of a winning feed, and hopefully he's on the podium again tonight. As you can see there, Rob Bowden did not want to give that position up. He had another go at Varga there in the background. I thought possibly Adam Hayne was going to be the winner out of that because Varga went halfway across. Bowden nearly went across the other wall there on the main straight, and Hayne, unfortunately, they could not get a move done on that one there, and I don't think Bowden's going to get it on Varga. It just seems like he's opened up just a little bit of a gap there, just enough there that Bowden can't get him on the brakes at the moment. So Bowden will just have to reset himself there and maybe just close that gap right up and see if he can have another attempt at getting that position back off of Stephen Varga. Both of them moved up a number of positions. Damien Johnson's actually in position number 9. I noticed he's up 10 positions, so he's had a good start to this race, and Brenton Hobson as well. They pitted a little bit early, and the other guys only 3 or 4 laps. As it looks like we've got a blown engine up on screen at the moment. That's Alex Newton there from the team RaceKraft Motorsports entry. So it looks like a hurt engine in that one. We have seen that a few times, haven't we, since the new build, guys? And he will be able to get a tow back and we'll be able to get a repair, but it will cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, unfortunately with these new generation cars or these new updates on these cars, we have seen quite a few engines blow, so it's quite unfortunate that it cost you a race result.
Well, Adam Hayne staying in this battle. Bowden, he has reset, exactly like I said. He just needs to reset, try and close that gap down again. And looks like he's just starting to get there into a position where maybe he can have another lunge. Here he goes, gets to the right-hand side. They head down the straight. Can he get it done? Down into turn number 1. No, yes, maybe. Double right-hander, so Varga's going to need to just maybe relinquish that and try and close that gap out before Adam Hayne decides he can put his nose in as well. And that's the risk you take, don't you, if you want to go into the battle. He's going to come back, though, Varga. Gets a run down the inside here as they come down to turn number 3. It's a pretty sharp corner. It's nice to be wide to get that drive, but they'll take a risk. Goes out wide out in the grass, and Adam Hayne, there we go. 2 for 1.
Yeah, nice move from Hayne there, but for Bowden there, he had the rear brakes locked up on entry. Fortunate not to make a meal of that one too. But had his Varga back down the inside. This is a great little scrap for these guys down in that 12th position. Varga now with the rears locked up. Just a little bit of serve for good measure there.
I was really worried about Adam Hayne and Dyke. Is this Dyke at the back ground now? They're going to get involved in this one too, and he's going. Well, I watched Hayne go by. How about you guys just put on a show for me? So please, give me a 2 for 1. I'll be happy to take it. You don't want to get locked up in that one. I thought for a moment Varga might have locked up there and grabbed Adam Hayne, but luckily he didn't. And it just looks like him and Rob Bowden are going to keep that going as we have a look a bit further forward on this one. As you can see, Brett Hobson now is up 8 positions into position number 7 and putting himself into this. And this is where he was in the last race. He was coming up in the position slowly and making his way through, but he had a late race incident there that put him back a few positions, but he's got to watch out. The Synergy Sim Racing guys are all lined up, and it's Rick Kuznetsov is the only one between them.
Yeah, nice move there to get through, and we've got him in the box here. We've got Mr. Andrew Dyson in there, mate. Unfortunately, we didn't see you having a run out there tonight, but let us know before you get going, how good is the smoker going tonight?
Well, it's not actually going tonight. It's a bit wet outside, so that's not really happening. But thanks for having me in anyway, guys. Yeah, those guys down in the pits are absolutely doing my head in, yelling at me about what's wrong with the car and this, that, and the other thing. But no, what a great battle we've got heading at the front of the race here. Intriguing strategies playing out, so really keen to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it's been an awesome one, and for yourself, unfortunately, you're saying some electrical gremlins got their heads in, but for the rest of the team now, still pressing on. We've got Adam Briggs right up the sharp end, sitting in 3rd position there. How's he looking for the race going forward?
Yeah, pretty good so far. I think Briggs has actually pitted so far in the race. If he hasn't, interesting to see how often he picks in this race. We're thinking the even split, so I think it's about a 20-20-20 sort of strat. Hopefully the boys can't, the boys racing out there can't hear I'm giving away his strategy, but yeah, I think he has pitted, and it was really interesting to see him come out in front of James there. But yeah, I think the most surprising thing so far about the strats playing out is Shepherd so far in front. So really keen to see what happens with that.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job, but don't worry about giving too much of the team secrets away. We've already mentioned it here. No one listens to us. Matty with the very quiet one under the radar there. So don't worry about that. I'm sure no one's taking advice on what the strategies are going to be going forward.
I would assume most folks don't have the broadcast going whilst they're racing, but you never know.
Yeah, normally if they listen to my commentary, they don't take too well to the results, so, you know.
Tell you what, Daiso, how do you like this track though? I actually quite enjoyed getting around this one a bit earlier in the week. Did you find it hard to find a setup for the car, or was it quite easy to come to you?
Personally, I struggled a little bit. The boys, particularly Briggs, he's probably doing a lot better than I am. Even Sean's doing better than I am, which is no surprise. But I've really only had experience with this track on other games, like, yeah, some other games we might say that are on Xbox. But yeah, I don't really want to say exactly what it is, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it on those games, and I thought I'd really enjoy it here, and I do. It's a great little track, but I probably struggled to get my head around it just a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. It looks like Briggs has just lost the position there to James Scott. He's managed to get that move done in. So what would be the advice you'd give to your teammate at the moment? Would it be just try and stay with James, use the draft, and see if you can try and get that gap closed down to Corey Shepherd for later in the race?
Well, yeah, I mean, drive faster would probably be the first thing I would say, but I think you're on the money there with the you know, try and jump in behind James and hang on for as long as you can. Maybe play a little bit of the pit stop fuel game or something like that. I don't know exactly what his strategy is, but I'm thinking it could be something along the lines of that. So I reckon you're on the money there, Matty.
Yeah, it's a shame you can't be over there with him, mate, because he'd be asking you for beers right now, I reckon.
Ask me for beers, some smoked meat fresh off the smoker. Yeah, 100%. I reckon.
Yeah, you'd have to feed and clothe him and everything like that while he's racing. Just keep him going.
Say again, sorry?
Just to keep him going while he's racing. Keep the fluids up.
Yeah, keep him fueled up with the smoked meat, and keep him fueled up with a few cheeky beers here and there.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like Thomas Hin's making a move on the outside here, and he's going to try and go by. Is it over Moore? Can he get this one done as well over Nathan Moore? Looks like he might around the outside of the Henry James racing car, and he come up to a right-hander here, so he's definitely going to get this move done. And he's another one who's just slowly picking his way through the pack again. He's just come in for another pit stop too, so he's now completed 2 of the 3 compulsory pit stops there for Thomas Hinds.
Yeah, a little bit further down, again, more 4-car battles. Who's that going around? That is Harry Dodds getting a bit of a surf there mid-corner. Yeah, he keeps it off the wall, but a little bit of damage. That's going to drop him a long way down, and no doubt, and right on cue, Race Control getting notification there. Just have a look into that one. That's a little bit of I think that's a pretty self-explanatory one there for them, but we'll let them adjudicate that one and see how it all goes. As Linsel here with Sebastian Texia all over the back of him down through turn 2. This is going to be a tough one to see whether he can hold this one up.
He saw a bit of a smoke there too in the previous corner. It looks like Adam Hayne might have been on the brakes pretty hard there in front of Rob Bowden. So we'll see how those guys are coping there. A little bit of everyone getting a little bit more tired now. 24 laps in, we're approaching halfway in the race, which would normally be our 150k race, but the 300k starting to stress a few people out, trying to maintain that concentration for a longer period, which is probably after you've had practice session, qualifying, you probably practiced all week, and now we're going to sit you into it's about a 2-hour race here at the moment for the Twin Ring, and the 2 hours is a long time to be sitting there after you've probably already done an hour and a half of practice of qualifying. So 3.5 hours in the seat. You need to try and maintain that concentration there, because the tiniest little slip up, get a wheel up on the grass, and of course you're using all of that runoff, and you watch about 4 positions go by. As we can see up on the screen, that position number 21 at the moment, Christian Smart, the Synergy Sim racing car, and behind him Simon Zomo. Just got that position back after we did see him a bit earlier. A little bit of an unfortunate off.
And whilst you're talking there, Matty, about it being taxing on the drivers, there's a big lock up there from Varga. As it's taxing on the drivers, just the time being in the car, they are racing into the night, so it's currently 5 o'clock PM in game. Varga gets a big hurry up, and they'll be driving into the night, so it's going to get darker and more challenging.
Yeah, so the Varga is trying to maintain. Jamie Dykes decided to put his nose in the air and not let him close that door. He said, no, I'm definitely here, and stuck the front end of the Mustang in, and now he's a big lock up there, as you can see. Stephen Kokoschki is the car just in front, getting in the way of this battle. Varga looks like he'll go past Dyke. Well, they go 3 wide as they come down here. Hinds behind, so Varga and Hinds both back on the same pit stop strategy, as I do believe we will see. It's Dyke as well on that same 2 pit stop strategy as well. They've all come back out to continue this glorious battle that they continue to have at the moment. It's good to see. As Simon Zoma in the background there just stopped there on one of the walls, so I don't know what's happened to him. Let's have a look though. Varga under brakes. Dyke looks like he's not going to get done. The Hinds is just slowly closing that gap up in the background, but leaving with Stephen Kokoschki in the Synergy Sim racing car, and they'd be all over his mirrors. If it's not Dyke in one mirror, it's Varga in the other. Then you come around the corner and they've swapped sides.
Yeah, really doing a good job moving those cars around. Andrew, from your point of view, the racer you are, and as talented as you are out there, from your position sitting in this train, what would you be thinking trying to apply the pressure at this point?
Well, I don't know about talented, mate. I'd just like to have a go. But yeah, these
got a race win.
Yeah, I did somehow got a race win. But these guys racing so hard. I actually start pulling faces here sometimes when I'm watching them. But I think for the most part, if I was back here, I'll be trying to play the long game more than anything. I'll be trying to look at the fastest way from here to the end of the race, really. And I think, as we all know, battling doesn't really help you get to the end of the race as fast as you possibly can. So yeah, I'll be trying to focus on that. I think, particularly if I'm far back in a battle pack, I'll be trying to pit as early as I can, and that's around about the lap 34, lap 35 mark, we're thinking. So still, that means you've got to do a lot of laps on tyres, so it might not be the optimal strategy coming towards the end of the race.
Yeah, and throwing that, the chance of a possible safety car, we thought maybe might have come out earlier on in the race, with everyone trying to funnel their way down and get the single file train going. We haven't seen that yet. Are you a little surprised at this point in time not to have had the safety car out on track? Yeah,
definitely. I would have expected something pretty early on, especially after the tyres go off after a few laps. The cars can get a little bit tricky to drive in a few places around here, particularly under brakes, down to, say, I think it's around the 3rd last corner or so, when you're really coming downhill before the tunnel. Can catch a few people out pretty easily there, particularly in the toe, in the back of the pack. So I was expecting to have an early safety car, but we never know. We could end up with a random safety car somewhere along the way. I hope I'm not putting the mockers on the boys, because there might not be a safety car lined up tonight until I said that. But Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting. So I'm surprised to not see a safety car so far.
Yeah, definitely. We're just jumping back up towards Adam Briggs here, having a good look still at the back of James Scott there, working their way down off the hairpin. Might be a good chance we might maybe jump on board with Adam here, and we might even be able to have a look at and get you, Andrew, to talk us through a lap around Motegi. It'd be great to get your point of view on it.
Well, yeah, as we saw in qualifying, I'm not really the greatest, and I'm not sure if my voice is in sync with the broadcasts as well as you guys, but I can have a go anyway. At the moment, I've got Briggs coming down towards that corner I was talking about, so he's under the brakes and he's just about to come down into probably the third last corner. Sorry, I haven't got a track map up either, but difficult braking zone, that one, downhill all the way, and you can easily lose the rear into that corner under brakes. So coming into the last section here, really easy to pinch the front, take a lot of curb on the left and try and open up the road as much as you can for the last corner for a nice run to the front straight here. So yeah, you really kind of back that last chicane up a little bit. Down to turn one, it looks a bit strange. Everyone kind of hugs the inside all the way around here, but a little bit of oversteering the way in. But that's the fastest way around the corner, to hug the inside, not really use up all the road on the outside, unless you're kind of making a bomb pass on somebody and you kind of do the switch back and hopefully hang to the left down here into turn 3 as he looks to go past it. Might be Jaden Borg or someone like that. So yeah. Yeah, I would have thought I'm a little bit delayed. So, yeah, coming down the back straight here. Because I'm watching on YouTube, yeah, I might be a little bit out of sync, but coming down the back straight, another pretty difficult braking zone. And yeah, it's kind of difficult to get to stop there as well. Up to the S's up here. You can pinch your front easily, and then we've got the tight left hand coming up as well, and that's another easy spot to actually lose the rear. So you kind of get a bit of understeer in the way in, the back breaks away. It's all a bit strange, but I think that's nearly a lap there.
Yeah, pretty close. I was a little bit late on that one. I just chucked up a live feed so we could join you on. That was my mistake there, mate. But
no, look, I tried to kind of be ahead as I could.
Did you hear that noise there, Daiso? That sounds like a bus coming.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, I think he threw you straight under it.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Luckily, I got clean underwear on.
It was a horrible hospital pass.
It's because you didn't bring any smoked meat up to the comms box. That's what it was.
Oh, still waiting.
He's dirty on me. Yeah, no, fair enough. All right.
Look, we know bearded men make the best smoked meat. You've seen all the American shows, mate. They all got big beards, so we got high expectations.
Yeah, you know, there's actually a bloke that I work with who trumps me in the beer department, so he definitely trumps me on the smoker as well, young Pete he does, so he'd be the man to cook it, not me.
Well, that's what we should have for the finals. I think we should go around. He should cook it, you guys should race.
Yeah, I'll definitely race and he can be on the smoker 100%. But we're getting a bit off track here, we're digressing a little bit. There is a race going on.
Thomas Hinds looks like he's just got a position done there too in the background. We just seen that on screen before, but this is the team going through the little train. Jordan Ross now at the front over Geordie Sinney, so he's actually got past his teammate and they will start to push on, try and catch up to their teammate Tom Ferrier. So 3 Synergy Sim racing cars, 4, 5 and 6. And then a little bit of a gap there back to Rick Kuznetsov. You can just see in the background the Premier Racing team. Your top 3 though, Corey Shepherd, James Scott and Adam Briggs. Now we spoke about James Scott pushing past Adam Briggs and Briggsy trying to stay with him and see if they close that gap to Shepherd. And when that happened, when the pass was made, it was roughly about 5 seconds gap. We're now down to about 3.5 second gap between where we see James Scott now and Corey Shepherd. So they are starting to do that. James Scott is opening up that air and definitely making some moves, and Briggs is staying with him. So we could see in the next 10 or 20 laps that possibly they can catch back up, and if they get back on the same pit stop strategy, it's going to be a fantastic finish to this race, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think once that final pit stop gets accounted for and we see what everyone's got left in the bag, it's going to be really exciting to see where everyone sort of filters through. At the moment, we know based on the stops that went through early on, James Scott took a little bit longer time stationing. It was about 6 seconds over that of Corey Shepherd. He was 3 laps later as well. So, maybe just trying that alternate strategy, keep the tyres safe, fresher for later on to see what he can play with. But, the guys are looking very, very good. Tom Freer now back in the lane, going to get his second stop completed, and also brings Jordan Ross in as well with him. So similar to what we saw the first time by for those guys coming in together.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Geordie Sinney because the Synergy boys are synchronised at the moment. We're in the first pit stop strategy, but decided they're going to get out of sync a little bit here, and be interested to see where they come out in the pack. We'll just have a look. They might actually get some really good clean air here at the moment. As I just watched is that 14 or 15 are about to go past them. So if we look on the track map very quickly, but yeah, they could definitely come out in a fair bit of clean air if they can get out very shortly, which might be a bit of an advantage to these two and team up again and get that train going. Hinds now all over the back of Varga. Looks like they've gone past Dyke. So Hinds has got past Dyke as well, and will reignite this battle that he had there with Stephen Varga a little bit earlier, and it is the battle for position number 21 at the moment. And it was fantastic before. Marty Hansen's just in front of him, the Taipan Esports entry, Party Marty. So we'll see if these guys can close this gap up. We do know once they start to battle, they lose a little bit of race pace, and Jamie Dyke will be just sitting in the background going, oh, this is deja vu from about 15 laps ago. Let's see if I can just sit in the background here and take advantage of this one once again. But Thomas Hinds had to come from the back of the pack there, didn't show up in qualifying, and right down the back, and had to make a number of positions now, but it looks like him and Stephen Varga fairly evenly paced, and they've been exchanging positions there. They went in and they pit stopped together as well, and they've come out and will continue this battle. It's reignited now a few laps later, and can't wait to see how this one unfolds for position number 21. You can see their Hinds there, just shows the inside, not going to get it done under brakes. Just leaves a little bit though of his car poking out, like maybe I'm going to take a dive, maybe I won't. We'll see what happens. And it's keeping Varga on his toes at the moment, because like we said earlier, if you've got to get defensive, you lose a little bit of your speed there and a little bit of your time, which gives the person behind a little bit of an advantage, and then it gives the people behind you an even bigger advantage. They can try and close that gap up.
Absolutely, and that first part of the lap there, probably the worst spot to be trying to go too defensive there. You really opened up for a big move. It's a big momentum section of the circuit there. When you run through one, the double right-hander to set yourself up on the back straight. If you lose anything there, the guys behind are going to be all over you like a rash going down into 3 and 4. In this portion of the circuit here, probably a little bit easier to be a little bit looser. You've got some time to sort of gather your thoughts and keep those guys behind. But yeah, all in all, very, very tricky for these guys to sort of manage where they want to stick these cars down the inside. As you say, both Thomas and Stephen doing a fantastic job. Both single car teams out there for both of these drivers as well. So, Andrew, from a team's perspective, obviously we know DPR generally 3 to 4 cars out on circuit. From a setup perspective, versus that of say a single car team, how much of a disadvantage is that for those guys?
Yeah, it certainly helps to have a few more brains and drivers thinking about what they can do with strategy, setup, to try and optimise the setup for the race, particularly when the conditions are changing quite rapidly, like we have tonight, where we had qualifying quite, I think it was around midday, and then we knew the race was going to be late afternoon, and as we see Hinds getting a move done down the inside, finally on Varga there, and it looks like Jamie Dyke's going to have a bit of a look, but yeah, certainly for these guys that are doing it by themselves, it's a little bit harder to optimise it, but you always get it there or thereabouts close enough to at least be able to get out there and have a good race, so that's the main thing, but certainly having a few drivers and a few brains on the job helps a lot.
Absolutely, we see Varga there just making a little bit of a move, and just on the change of conditions, I think going from practice, it was a almost nighttime change to then going into the day. Between those two different types of conditions, obviously very different from a temperature perspective. Was there much that you guys found needed to be adjusted between the cars between those two sessions?
Well, there wasn't really a whole lot we could do because there's only a short amount of time, but there are a few changes that you kind of have in your toolbox that you think you can make just quickly on the fly. But for the most part, I mean, the track temperature wasn't a whole lot different, and so it was mainly the same thing, mainly the same setups. I think everyone would have been running basically the same setup as we see both the Taipan cars in the pits there.
Yeah, the Hayne trains come in. The Todd and Adam Hayne are both in, so Lindsell, Tixia and Borg will go past them. See Bowden out in front, but just having a little bit of a look here, Lindsell was hard under brakes there before, and Tixia I thought might have got it done. Brian Borg just sitting in the background at the moment there in 8th position and trying not to get involved in this one. You can see he's trying not to upset Tixia's run there because of both coming advantages. He looks like he's made a mistake, and Borg will take that position and go past. So now it's up to Brian Borg to try and catch back up to Sean Lindsell and see if he can make a move done, but we are back in that 3 pit stop strategies basically breaks this race down into quarters. 31 laps halfway through the race, we're back on where we're going to start to see all those guys and that even strategy possibly start to come in as well. So we'll start to see these guys maybe come out in different positions. Like we say, we saw Adam and Todd Hayne just in the pits before. Jamie Dyke looks like he's just there, and Varga has dropped right back as well. So that's very interesting there. It looks like he had to make a redress there. We are hearing from race control, so Loxton, Moore and Kokoschki have gone past after that redress. So Varga will have to fight his way back through, and that's a nice little reprieve there for Thomas Hinds and the Henry James Racing, because now he gets a chance just to get on with his races. Corey Shepherd in the pits again, goes in before Scott again. So Scott will regain the lead of this race, and Adam Briggs has stayed out there as well. So Corey Shepherd coming in early again, and we'll have to see exactly how that sort of plays out towards the back half of this race. But Corey Shepherd sticking with his strategy, not playing into it, whereas we saw James Scott come in 3 laps later last time and took an extra 5 seconds up on the stand. So a lot more fuel going in that car, and he could possibly come in a little bit later for 2 short stops and keep those tyres really, really fresh for a sprint race home.
And I think that's a pretty good move there, just to keep the tyre life alive, especially as you get through the race. We know that the track conditions are going to cool off, so we would expect a lot of drivers probably to take a fresh set when they come through for that final pit stop cycle and get themselves in a good run here. Having a look at Freya, having a bit of a actually, sorry, Nick Timors with he's got Damien Johnson, and I think that might be another one or Brenton Hobson there in the mix as well. These guys well down the order at the moment. This is 12th, 13th and 14th position as they work their way around the circuit. A little bit off for these guys, but still plenty of time for them to come through as they work their way around. This will start them on their 33rd lap of the circuit.
Well, they came in together again, the Synergy Sim Racing guys, Brenton Hobson and Damien Johnson, Geordie City, they all came in together. So the Synergy Sim Racing guys must only have a couple of pit garages, and they've had to share. That's all it is. They're coming 1 lap apart. So those boys are back in the train. I'll see them start to work their way back through. You see they go past Nicholas Timors and the Premier Racing Team entry. Get on there. It's right behind them. Sean Lindsell, though, has just come out after the second pit stop. Nicholas Timors, another one, hasn't had the second pit stop either by the looks of it. So there's still a few to come through. Just having a look at Briggsy. Where is he? He has actually come in the pits. I see his position moving. So down in the pits now, Adam Briggs has decided to come in. James Scott, no surprise there after that 30-second pit stop last time, that he has stayed out there and continuing on. Thinking about it, though, just before Corey Shepherd went in, that gap had gone down to just under 3 seconds. So he was definitely catching.
Yeah, and he had about a 3-lap advantage over Corey Shepherd there as well. So look for that to probably extend similarly as we keep an eye on so a little bit further down. We're on the nose of Sean Lindsell's DPR entry there. He's very, very racy on the back of Nick Timors here. Going to go the long way around the circuit here. And Adam, or Andrew, sorry for yourself, mate, what are you thinking at this point? It's a tough run trying to go the long way around in this hairpin.
Well, it's a tough run to go around the long way, but I'm really surprised that Timors is probably not to kick him down or anything, but Timors is really fighting this battle. I think for Timors, he really just needs to kind of tuck in as much as he can here and keep himself out of trouble, particularly if he still needs to make another pit stop or two. And racing the competitors that may not be racing directly on track at the moment could be making time on him. So, yeah, I'll be trying to... as he just comes in the pits now too, so yeah, great from Timors there.
Yeah, that's probably a smart move just to clear that one out of the way. That'll put Lindsell now with the Hain train in behind the DPR entries down there in 12th and 13th position. But yeah, Lindsell after that little bit of a mishap that he had earlier in the race coming on quite strong as this one continues on. Brett Loxton similarly doing a very good job, up 16 spots from where he started, Matty, and it's been a tough night for him. He's been involved in a few little incidents along the way.
Yeah, we did see a little bit of the livery brushed off that car a bit early, didn't we? It's had a bit of a damage on the right-hand side. I just want to see if he's had a fast repair done. It looks like he has, because I can't do too many scrapes down the side. So it looks like he's had the fast repair done that, and that is all 100% going at the moment. Brian Borg, I just noticed, came out before. He's coming for his second stop, and he is back down there. I'm just trying to see where he has ended up, actually, Borgie, after that one. He's come back in P16, so 2 pit stops in, and the only person, there's 2 people in front of him, Sebastian Tixier, his teammate, who, we've got to watch Sebastian Tixier because those two were, Sebastian Tixier was just behind Brian Borg, so we're expecting if he comes in the pits, he will then end up back where Brian Borg is now, back in 16. So we'll see how that plays out. James Scott, though, running his own race at the front, no surprise.
No, you're doing a very stout job. One thing I have noticed a lot tonight, and Andrew, you might be able to shed a little bit of light on this one. We noticed a lot of guys snatching rear brakes in some of the more tighter radius corners. Is that something to do possibly with the setup? A lot of these guys running a little bit more rearward, or maybe just an imbalance in the car?
Oh, it could be a bit of both of those things you mentioned, but I think mainly it's just the nature of the track. So we've got a lot of downhill braking zones where you can pinch rears really easily. There's a lot of tight corners where you're slowing down a lot and you can really pinch fronts as well. And in fact, in a couple of places, you can do both. You can lock the rears on the way in and you can pinch fronts right when you get there. So you kind of, you've got this juggling act going on and you're half out of control the whole way and then you've got a slow exit and your lap's a disaster. But yeah, it's probably a bit of both of those things really. Our brake balance is one thing, but the brake foot is really where it comes down to making sure you're getting the best out of the car around here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just having a look now. Texia back in front of Shepherd, his teammate, just opening up the door nicely and just allowing Corey to breeze on by. So Texia still yet to complete his second stop for the night. Corey, for his second stop, a little bit longer for him. It's 29.5, so this might be that little bit of a role reversal that we saw for Scott. Scott now in the lane, so we'll keep an eye on what his stationary time is, but this might be the point at where Scott's able to gain that little bit of an advantage back.
Yeah, well, no, you could probably comment on this a bit at this point. Like for James Scott, we know he can go the long run. Does he stay in his strategy, or although he's got a few laps up his sleeve, like he does, those 3 laps, does he then work backwards now and go, well, I'll just stay with that 3 laps, you know, outside of what Corey Shepherd's doing from here on in?
Yeah, well, on a rough fuel calc, it gives him about 25 laps to make that decision, and 25 laps puts him about lap 59. We're only meant to get 62 in this race, so is he just on that ballpark figure, or is he just a bit further to go? I guess we'll find out very soon, but
well, he's just taken there. I'm just seeing he's just got off the jacks there and he's starting to come out. So he is taken 4 seconds left than Corey Shepherd. So that was roughly the gap they had when they went in. It was about 3 seconds. So you would hope that James Scott would battle it on now with Corey Shepherd, but it looks like he has come out in 3rd position there behind Corey Shepherd. Adam Briggs now leading this race and leading once again after coming off the back of last week.
Yeah, doing a very good job there. We just see him working his way through a little bit of lap traffic, and you can see James Scott and Corey Shepherd just in the distance of shot there as well. So it's a good little margin for him. He's 5.5 seconds up the road from Shepherd and just shy of 8 seconds up the road from James Scott. So a good run here, and again, DPR looking very, very strong.
Well, Andrew, you might be able to comment on this one. I'm having a look at the pit stop times. Briggsy was very, very short on that one.
Yeah, quite surprised the other guys are having such long stops, to be honest. I don't think Briggs is doing anything kind of out of the ordinary. I'm really surprised that these guys, Shepherd and Scott we're talking about, are having such long pit stops, particularly Freo. He was right there at the start of the race and he's kind of dropped off a little bit, but that could all come back to Briggs at the end of the race, and by that I mean the other guys could be right on him after this one more stop, kind of the Joker pit stop, I guess you'd say, coming towards the end of the race. So it could end up having like 4 cars on top of each other coming into the last 10 laps or so. We don't quite know yet. But one thing I was surprised to see a little earlier on was Tixier staying out and waiting until he had to let, we see Tixier right on the back of Free now. Smart, actually, sorry. Tixier staying out so long that he actually had to pull over to let Shepherd go, which I'm surprised by that. I thought he would have pitted before he would have had to slow down to let Shepherd go, which probably could have compromised his strategy a little bit. Though obviously not too much, because we see he's still in front of Borg there, who's just behind this little battle pack.
It was no surprise he was going to let Shepherd through, wasn't he? Teammates, and he's not in the battle. Like, he knew he wasn't in the battle, but like, yeah, it was a surprise he didn't come in early unless he's got some strategy towards the back of the race. But yeah, very, very surprising. We see the little train there. They're back at it again, the boys, the Synergy Sim Racing boys, and they're going to make it hard for Sean Lindsell to get by, especially when you've got 2 teammates back to back. They can close those gaps up and try and help each other out a little bit at this point. And then behind them, you've got the Taipan Esports boys, Todd and Adam Hayne now starting to close this gap up for this between them and Sean Lindsell. So the 10th position there, he's sitting right in the middle, Sean, and the Acco Holder DPR entry, and we'll just see if he can make a bit of an impact on the Synergy Sim Racing car of Brenton Hobson just in front, because going to really put him in that Synergy sandwich, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't think they're going to try and get into too much of a battle after we have seen in previous races where it hasn't really played out well for the Synergy guys when they've started a battle between the teammates. Maybe though in the last 10 laps it might be the gloves off and they might let them get away and do exactly what they want to do in this race. So Briggs now still leading us out in front, and he's got himself a almost 6-second gap now. He just went through a whole heap of lap traffic as well, so that might have been a bit of an advantage for him to go through that lap traffic and get through, get a clean run, because Corey Shepherd now and James Scott have got caught up in that.
Well, I'm just keeping an eye on the times as the guys work their way through. And as you say, for Adam going through, it didn't really impact him too much. He was able to pick his options quite nicely there, as we see. I think that was one of the synergy cars, might have been Hobbo having a bit of an incident, running very wide off track. And I mean, for a driver of Brett Hobson's character, very untoward there, and I'm sure he'll get back underway. But he's now in the middle of that Taipan Esports run. But as I was saying, Briggs did a very good job working his way through that lap traffic. Didn't really hurt him too much. James Scott on the previous lap, purple sectors in sector 3 and 5 as well. He's really managed to narrow the gap down to Corey Shepherd. It's down to 1.2 seconds for those guys as well. So the race starting to liven up here. We're just shy of 25 laps to go in this one, and we all know one more stop for everyone else to make to get themselves home.
Oh, is that Kokoschki who's blown an engine there? I think it is, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's a bit of a mischief. He's going to come to a complete stop there.
And we've got a safety car. Yep.
So safety car out now. Who is going to jump in the lane? We'd expect everyone to come in to try and clear this lap, but the last pit stop. But can we expect to see these guys make it home, Nori?
I was just running that through my abacus, so we'll be.
You got him early. That's another bus. Are you a bus driver tonight, Dan?
Oh, look, I'm good at the old hospital pass.
They can make it. My abacus works.
So the interesting thing will be here, the leaders. Do they come in now and do they just do the, like you say, the Joker stop, like come in, dash, just get enough to make it home, set of tyres and just go for it from here? It is all race, or do the leaders stay out and we just look at the people further down the pack who are trying to get their final pit stop done to see if they can make up positions from there, qualifying further down the grid?
I'd be very surprised if everyone doesn't come in to take tyres, but what we saw happening there was really interesting. Briggs was actually getting really held up by a car that he couldn't pass under yellow flag, but at the same time, Shepherd and Scott were also held up by another car that was at the back of the pack that they couldn't pass because of the yellow. So I think the gap actually might have went in Briggs' favour a little bit there, but the same thing for Freer there. He had to really slow down behind another car, so that's going to bring a lot of cars back into the battle. We saw Ross right on Freer as they came to the pits there, which I don't think he was all over him before that happened, before the yellow came out there, so that was really interesting. But how they come out of the pits is going to be the real story here.
Yeah, and when they come out, though, it takes away all pit stop strategy now for the final, what do we got left, 25 laps of this race. It takes away 26. All pit stop strategy from here on, doesn't it? Because now it is just a race to the finish.
Yeah,
not a race.
You look up and down that listing on the pit sheet, they've all done their stops and they're all ready to go home. They've all got 25 laps of fuel if they fill it up now, so they're good to go.
Oh, well, this one's going to be interesting. Our Acuta Jinx Shifters safety car, the AMG, is out on track and waiting for our who is going to be our race leader out there, because they're all in the pits. Who's going to be the one that's going to come out and lead this race? Sure, there's a couple of wave rounds happening there, and we're seeing more start to exit. Corey Shepherd's in front of James Scott, and they're in front of Briggs. So Briggs has had to take on more fuel, I would say, than the rest of them. I'm just waiting for the times to come up there and pit. And yeah, they've taken a quick 11-second stop compared to Briggs, who's had to be a 20-second stop. But James Scott won't need to work hard. He won't need to pressure those tyres now. He is going to get a race start right behind Corey Shepherd and just do what he does, his racecraft, and just work away and chip away at it until he has his time and his patience there, the right opportunity to go past Corey Shepherd. But will Corey Shepherd bring something to the table this time? We know he's held out James Scott for numerous amounts of laps in previous races and just hasn't been able to make it home. James Scott's experience has got him through in the end, but Corey Shepherd, he just keeps getting better and better as he ages. Only a young fella there, and not old enough to go out in the world and go to the pub, but doing a fantastic job here in the iRacing, and his maturity is well above his age.
Definitely, and I mean, how many times have we seen these top three together at near enough to the conclusion of a race as well? I mean, think back to what happened at Silverstone a couple of seasons ago. We had everyone involved in it, and Andrew, you were right in the mix of that one. Teamed up with Adam at that point, and we know how hard these guys are all racing. Really feel the biggest guy, one of the cars that really copped this one the worst, Christian Smart. He'd already had his third pit stop underway when the safety car was deployed. He got held up hugely, still finds himself down in that 16th position. So this one really didn't work out for him, unfortunately.
Yes, that's right. You're right. Whereas Thomas Hins, now this might work in Thomas Hins' favour a little bit there because he is up 20 positions in position number 17. Matthew Brunt as well is up 15 positions. Borgie and Sean Lindsell going to be locked in that battle again. Tixia came out in front of Borgie, surprisingly. So Tixia is still in front after that one.
And I think between those two Premier cars, Sebastian being maybe the little bit stronger of the two Premier cars at the moment. We've seen Brian have a few uncharacteristic setup issues in the rear of that car, and it hasn't quite worked out for him.
Now, this one's going to be fun at the front, though. Position 4, 5, and 6 is all Synergy Sim Racing. You got Tom Frere, Jordan Ross, Geordie Sydney. Now, looking at the qualifying times, they weren't too far off the top three. So, you know, a restart now. They're right under the rear wing. Good time for those guys to really try and stay with the leaders where they had that disadvantage early where the leaders led away, especially at the start of the race. Now they can try and stay with them. So it is very important, though, if there's one of those cars, if Briggsy can't stay with Scott, the other guys need to get past him as soon as possible.
Absolutely, and Andrew, this is probably a good time to throw to you, mate. I love the hospital pass. As a driver, what would be going through your mind at this point? Obviously, you got the safety car out. You're trying to minimise the fuel usage at this point. How do you prepare yourself ready to get back to racing?
Well, for a lot of drivers, you can find that this can be quite an anxious part of the race because you've done all this work. You've gone 39 laps. You've only got about 23 to go, and suddenly it's a restart. So anything can happen. Like you could get a little touch from somebody. I've copped it once before. It can just send you completely out of the race after you've done nothing wrong the whole way and tried to put your best foot forward to get to this point. So it can be a bit of a touch and go type segment of the race here as we get restarted. But for the guys at the front, they'll be feeling pretty comfortable. Up the back, the further back you go, I guess the more anxious you're kind of feeling about potentially having a bit of drama and getting caught up in it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point, that. And I mean, 39 laps since a lot of those guys were really in the thick of the action again. If we think right back to the beginning of the race, we saw everyone 3 and 4 wide. Fingers crossed we don't see any incidents come about that. We got away nicely at the first start, but yeah, it's going to be very tricky to see how these guys look at restarting these cars.
The old adage plays, safety cars breed safety cars, so we can expect that.
Yeah, we've said that though, and it hasn't always come true for us, as it was commentators when we have the old bet on the safety cars. We thought it was going to come out early in this one, and every time we say it's going to breed safety cars, it hasn't always happened. We'll wait to see. They're going to come through that turn 12, 13, 14 though, and they're not going to be at too much pace. Well, they may be. Corey Shepard may choose to start early, but then you got a bit of a straightaway there. So watch for the big dive, I reckon, to turn number 1. There's going to be quite a few. I reckon we're going to go 3 wide down there. Maybe not for the top 3 or 4, but I reckon sort of around that position 8 down, I reckon we're going to see 3 wide coming turn number 1.
Absolutely, and we didn't really touch on it at the start of the race, but probably a good time to do so now. So the restart for the cars coming through tonight is going to be a tricky one. The guys will be obviously single file right the way through. The restart zone for these guys to get underway, and this is going to be interesting to see where Corey decides to do it, is going to be from turn 12, 13, 14, he can consider getting on, and then we've got overlap basically from that final corner right through to the start-finish straight. So, you know, we've seen traditionally with James out front, very late to get these cars underway. Corey's now in that box seat. But interesting to see how he decides to get this one restarted.
Yeah, so set up in the car, isn't it? If you want to be in a drag race, you're really just going to go out on 14, aren't you, and really start to get the acceleration underway and drag race it down to turn number 1. But imagine the train though, like if he decides, even when he starts, the train of cars is going to be all the way back to turn number 11 and possibly around turn number 11. So those guys right at the back are going to be trying to race through those corners now. They're not going to be starting their race on the main straight. They're going to be starting through turns number 12 and 13. So very interesting at the rear what happens. And that's where I may come unstuck with those words where I say every time we say we breed safety cars breed safety cars, it doesn't always happen. It could happen due to some back markers, I reckon, not the guys at the front.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, not one of the worst circuits we have a restart at. If you think all the way back to Charlotte Roval, the new Roval that's in there, trying to get the cars down through that final chicane, absolutely terrifying to see the guys work their way through. And we have seen quite a few incidents there when you couple that with the close walls. But coming out here, you know, even if they are down off turn 11, still plenty of time for them to work their way through. We know where the overlap zones are. these guys have got some room to work with to restart it.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. We can't be too far away. We head down the west track straight, so the back straight there now. We'll wait for them just to get down here. They head down to obviously turn number 10, the big right-hander down the end of this one, is it? No, we're coming out of 10, sorry, down the straight. So head down to turn 11. Will the safety car lead away on this one? I suspect with all the cars caught up, it's possibly going to be our restart lap. Just you guys might be able to hear it in race control possibly if we are going to restart on this one. The Akita Jinx Shifters safety car about to head off the track hopefully and get this race underway again. 40 laps completed out of 62, the 300k, and the safety car leads away. Leaves it in the hands of Corey Shepherd now. Where will he restart this race? Comes around turn number 12. He can start any time from now on. You can hear him start to take the pace down. He's going to get straight to it. James Scott does not want to let him get away at all. Oh, the car slides out for Scott too. He really put the foot down on that one, and it looks like Corey Shepherd now not going to be under too much pressure to head into turn number 1. Let's see how wide they go down further down the track though. Staying single file for most, but a bit further down, right down the back, we see a couple of cars start to step up, but a nice double right-hander showing up there on that vision there. Will James Scott try and make this pass early, keeping that pressure on the Corey Shepherd, the young gun? Hard on the brakes, we take out a few cones. He wants to use every little bit of bitumen on that right-hand side. The right-hand side of the car really loaded up now as they come round the double left-hander out of turn number 4. Fairly sedate restart, I reckon, from the pack. I thought it was going to be a lot more going on with that one, especially further down from position 8 or 9 downwards, but a good restart looks like from the race. We aren't hearing anything on race control about another safety car coming out, so that means everyone has got through the first couple of corners, you can see, and they're still bunched up at the start of this one, but the main three, the top 3 leading away, starting to open that gap already. Corey Shepherd, James Scott, Adam Briggs, they are fighting it out for the top 3. A slight gap back to Tom Frere, Jordan Ross and Geordie Sydney now. They're all teammates. They won't want to get caught up in a battle between those 3. They're going to have to decide who has the quickest car if they want to stay with these top 3. James Scott looking for some fresh air into that car now. Getting in the side mirrors of Corey Shepherd. He almost looks like he went a little bit defensive on that one. He won't want to keep doing that because that will just invite James Scott in to maybe do something. Here we go, the draft down the back straight. What's going to happen here? He goes on the outside here. Corey Shepherd's going to stay down on the inside. Definitely got the line of being defensive. Briggs now brought back into the competition here. He might be the one to take advantage if these two want to keep this battle going. Down the inside, Scott goes over the grass. He shows his nose, decides to get out of it. That could have brought him unstuck there, but he did it the right part of the track. Now we head back up the lap. Oh, Briggs gets a nice drive. Oh, something's happened to Scott. Does not get the drive he wants. Really bad exit from him, and Briggs will take over P2, Dan.
Yeah, great opening restart lap for all involved in that. We see Briggs get that jump on Corey Shepherd, and a little bit of race control chatter. I didn't quite pick up what that was. I'm wondering whether James Scott actually managed to pick himself up a slowdown trying to come through 11 and 12 there, because he was very slow getting out of that final corner there, and that really opened the door there for Briggs to come through. We did see the big slide that he had trying to get away, and I think, as you sort of got the point, that helped Corey get the run down into turn 1 there, but he got extremely racy at the end there and was very slow on that final turn 10 hairpin there that really gave him a good opportunity to try and send one up there, but Shepherd very much awake to that, very defensive, and pressed on nicely down the field though. Ross, Cini and Kuznetsov all in a bit of a train here. We have got the top 14 just starting to break away now as the pace back up to racing standards now.
Quite funny, earlier Matty made the comments about that being a pretty sedate restart, but I can tell you the heart rates would have been up, particularly for Shepherd. He had a bit of a get out of jail free card when James had that bit of a slide coming out of the last corner on that restart, so that helped Shepherd kind of get settled into these new tyres around the first few turns there up until he got to the back hairpin up at turn 10 where he was kind of under the pump again from James. But yeah, I can tell you the heart rates would have been up there. It was quite funny what Matty said, yeah, it's a restart because it's anything but when you're in the car.
No, I think I was more about where it didn't, we didn't see the 4 wide like I thought, but yeah, definitely something going on here. We'll just check out a replay of James Scott, this exit there where Briggs goes by, and it does look like a slowdown, doesn't it? Or something's happened there, maybe. I'll wait to see if we hear anything from race control about that one, because that was kind of weird, I think, Dyson. When you look at James Scott, I mean, why would you be so slow? It didn't look like he went out in the grass and spun the wheels.
Well, we probably didn't see it. We weren't quite back far enough, but I think when James went on the inside of Shepherd, just there on that little kink there, which is turn 12, He took a little bit of grass. Oh, who's that? Harry Dodd's having a moment there. Oh, he's got back on the road. Good job.
He's had a few moments, but he looks like
anybody.
he got out of that one unscathed, yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, you're
there.
right. We did see him early. It was on turn number 12 there. He took quite a bit of grass in, didn't he?
Yeah, so I think that might have been what's given him the slowdown onto the front straight, and he's done a great job actually of clearing that slowdown and only losing one spot. He's pretty close behind Briggs, and he's got a nice gap to Freer as well, as we can see at the moment.
Well, I'm sure he will reset. He's been in this situation before, and a very accomplished driver, James Scott, so he'll reset and just decide when he's going to apply that pressure again. As long as Briggs is keeping that pace and not letting Corey Shepard get away, there's probably no point in James Scott being too aggressive at this point. Still a number of laps left. We've got about 19, 20 laps left in this race, so we'll see. We're lap 43 of 62 at the moment, so 19.5 laps left to go in this race, so he's still got a fair bit of time. We're all on the same strategy now. We're all done 3 pit stops, and we're all making it to the checkered flag from here on. As long as you've got enough fuel in the car, you are all going all the way. You have to manage those tyres, you have to manage your fuel load, and you have to make these final laps count.
Have a look back at Linsell on the back end of Borg there. He's looking very, very racy. Further down, Varga, Johnston back together again. These guys have had a pretty good scrap throughout the course of the night. We've seen Varga have a few little incidents and a big redress that dropped him further down the order, but back into contention following that safety car, and looking very handy on the back there of Johnston. He's got Matthew Brunt and Jamie Dyke just ahead in that Fisher Motorsports entry as well, so a few opportunities there for him to claw his way further up inside that top 20.
Well, I like it too. We have a look at Thomas Hinds. He's gone up another position too, so he's up to P16 at the moment, the Henry James racing car. 21 positions, so not a bad restart from him. Looks like he's managed to get through. Brett Loxton just behind him, who had a bit of damage on that car early, has managed to salvage up his race, and he's up 19 positions as well. So the Henry James racing crew obviously working quite hard in their pit stop strategies. They got in early, well, Thomas Hinds did there, and didn't really start off their qualifying as well as they would have liked. So from starting right down the back, they've managed to make their way up and get a good start. Tom Freer now is just off the podium in 3rd position there, and he needs to watch out for teammate Jordan Ross and Geordie Sidney. Now, Synergy Sim Racing, we don't want to, we've spoken about it already, but you know, we have had races where these guys have got into their own little battles, being teammates. Is it time now, Norrie or Dyson? What would your team do in this situation? Do you look at who is the fastest car and you let them lead this little train of Synergy cars?
If I was the Synergy train, yeah, probably. I mean, I don't really know how you'd think, because I've never had about seven teammates around me at any one time in any race ever. I don't think so. I've never been in that privileged position. Yeah, I'm kind of taking a bit of the piss there, a little bit out of Synergy, but yeah, I mean, I guess you would. That probably is a good move. At the same time, though, like, you don't really want to be all, you know, going, oh no, after you sir, and slowing yourself down like that. So tricky little balancing act, I think that would be.
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, you and Dyso are normally, you and the Briggs are normally like 1 car apart, aren't you? Like 3 and 5, like 3 and 4.
Yeah, something like that. There's normally one guy between us. So either I'm backing somebody up or somebody else behind us attacking somebody to help out the car ahead. Or yeah, little tricks like that. Always going on up and down the field with all the cars and drivers out there, 100%.
Well, the Premier Racing Team, Nick Timors, is there, and he's back in position number 23. He made up 4 positions in this race so far. Just keeping steady in the race and seeing how he's going. Jaden Borg now cuts that corner a little sharp there, tries to come on the inside of Sebastian Flock, who we saw earlier not having a fantastic time the whole race, but looks like he's got that car back on track, and Flock up 12 positions in the Pursuit Sim racing car. What can Jaden Borg do? The Dakota Sim Sport entry has a little bit of a look there, but not going to make this pass as they head down the track there. Just that turn number 1 and 2 decides that it's not going to happen there. Right, we'll head back to Briggs now. This is the man we want to be watching. He was leading. Shepard now has the lead. So Shepard has made a move in front of Briggs. Sorry, no, Shepard was leading before. It's getting late in the day, mate. It's been a big day for me.
It's a long race, I suppose.
Yeah, Briggsy, they're just closing that gap up, though. He's not letting him get away, which is good. He's keeping pace there. Looking at the last couple of laps there, they're all 152.08 for Shepard, 152.09 for Briggs, and a 151.9 for James Scott. So I think James Scott's just waiting for his moment. He seems to have the pace on the car. Maybe that restart just was the tyres. Maybe didn't have the temperature. Not real comfortable. He's just given it a few laps to let everything settle again, and now looks like he's got about a 1/10 of a second on it.
Well, whatever it was for James, he seems to have shaken it off, because we saw him pretty well the lap after having that little bit of an incident. Purple sector 1, and he managed to claw that gap back down pretty comfortably by the looks. These three are very seasoned competitors here. They're just going to play the numbers, wait till they get into that final 5-6 laps of the race before they really start to make any dives here. But for Adam at the moment, the tricky spot is you've got the pressure you're applying to Corey Shepherd in front. You don't want to let him go. But at the same time, you've got to be mindful of what Scott's doing in the background. And James will be doing everything he can to try and just get into that mind of Briggs, which is not going to be an easy thing to do. It'll definitely take a while to work this out, because generally when we've seen these guys around, the roles have been a little bit more reversed, and it's been Adam applying the pressure to James. So going to be tricky to watch where they want to go. Right behind that, you've got the trio of Synergy cars all lined up behind them as well, Freya, Ross and Seni, and then Rick Kuznetsov, the second of our Premier Racing entries, in that 7th position. And he's had a very strong night tonight, bringing that car up. We haven't really spoken about him too much at all, fellas, but again, another quiet drive for the Premier guy.
Yeah, definitely. But he's definitely he's staying up there in the top 10 and applying the pressure there, maintaining it there behind the Synergy guys, and he might be able to get Geordie Cine here, because he's just fallen off the back of the Synergy train a little bit, Geordie Cine, and Rick Kuznetsov can see a little bit of a gap where he can slide in there and become a little bit of a thorn there in the side of the Synergy team there for those positions there, and maybe he can make it up in position number 6. Now, talking about those top 3 again though, is it also possible that James Scott could just let Briggs apply that pressure to Corey Shepherd, let them get caught up in the battle, which will slow them down, and then you got the opportunity to get that 2-for-1 deal maybe. Let them battle it out, let them slow. If Corey has to get a little bit defensive, and then we see Briggs start looking for places to go by, then James Scott can just come and pick them both off at once, because I know he'd be looking for a 2-for-1 deal. What's this? Well, Briggs goes right over to the side. I think he's just grabbing some air there in the car.
Yeah, interesting manoeuvre. I don't really have an answer for that, but 100% what you're saying there is pretty spot on. They're all kind of playing a bit of a game of chess at the moment, where they're all kind of waiting for one of the others to make the first move. So whoever makes the first move is basically going to be the first guy to say, hey, I'm prepared to slow us down to try and make a position here. And at the same time, if you're also the guy making the first move, you're probably the guy trying to show his hand and say, I can lead this race and get away from you guys. So, Mozomo having a bit of a moment. Unlucky there, Momo. He gets going again, doesn't hit nothing. Good stuff.
Oh, maybe he grabbed something himself there, but nobody else. So he hasn't brought anyone else into the... So one little bit of replay, Mozomo there, just, unfortunate for him. He's spun himself out, there's no one on there, but they're using all the track here, and you're right, it's a chess game at the moment. Who is going to make the move, and how long do they hold back for? Like, if Scott's waiting to see if Briggs and Shepherd get caught in a battle, how long does he wait before he runs out of laps? Because the two guys in front are very quick. It's not like he's just going to drive up to them and go past them. He's going to have to get involved in a battle with them. So how long do you sit back in the chess game? When do you make your move? You've got to watch for it. Briggs, sitting in the middle, what does he do? Everything's playing out. I think Corey Shepherd just needs to not worry about being defensive. He just needs to go fast. He pulls off the qualifying times. Like, him and James Scott are normally within, hundreds and thousands of a second between them. I think his game is just go. Corey Shepherd needs to push the Mr. Antenna Mustang, go as fast as he can, and just hope that his race pace is faster than anyone else out there on track. Because the moment you start defending, you start sacrificing time. And that's going to really hurt him when you've got those two experienced drivers behind him. And Briggs just seems to be coming on this season. Last race we saw him do it, come off pole, took the win. And again, he qualified well tonight, and he is just looking fast. There we see defensive move there from Shepherd, and Briggs pulls over as well. Now Shepherd has to get back on track, and the person sitting in the back just calmly at the moment is James Scott, not really getting involved in this little bit of manoeuvre or trying to look for a position, just letting it play out in front of him to see what exactly is going to happen at the moment. And just having a look at the lap times again, he's not really catching them anymore. He's just slowed down to their pace. They're all 152.50s between the top three. There's hundreds of a second difference between them as they go over the line again. And it's the same again. Just James Scott, they're a tenth faster, so when he wants it, he can make it. Just watching the cars in front. As Corey Shepherd there decides he pulls over right a bit earlier, but yeah, they're definitely down that main straight, just getting very defensive there, Corey Shepherd at the moment. We'll see if he can hold on. It goes a little bit wide here, invites Briggs into the battle, gets the nose right in, slides the car out too. Then we see Scott there, gets the wheel out on the grass. Now he pulls over very, very early. Shepherd is going to lose a bit of speed here because he's right on the inside. This right-hander at sharp gives him position there, but the drive on the exit, what will be the outcome of this? It's a big right-hander now. It is full throttle. They're going to run it down. Corey Shepherd will hold on to the position there, but they've closed the gap up. Not probably the position you want to try and get under brakes at that one. Oh no, Scott puts the nose in. He's not worried about it. He takes a dive on Briggs. He's waited for his moment, and the chest move has been made. Shows the signs, and now he is going to try and chase down Corey Shepherd, who is getting very defensive with a number of laps. We check out a bit of a replay up here on the screen. Briggs a little bit wide. They're going around the outside of Corey Shepherd. You can see James Scott there just sees the daylight. Gets him under brakes here. That was a good manoeuvre there. Does it cleanly too. Briggs gives him a bit of room. That was a nice manoeuvre. We check out in the replay, Dan.
Yeah, really strong move there. And that was really set up right off the back of turn 3 there, where we saw Adam get a really good run, put the pressure on Corey Shepherd. And yeah, in the opening phase of the lap, Shepherd's not really that strong, and Briggs has been very good, sort of from turn 10 all the way through that first 5 corners of the circuit as well. This will be interesting now with Shepherd in behind. Briggs supreme through that final corner there. He really closed that gap right up, and now gets a look at the back of James Scott. But for Corey Shepherd, again, very good driving, just placing the car where he needs to, really making these guys think about their options. And in doing so, I mean, that was all it took for James Scott to be able to slip one down the inside of Adam Briggs.
Yeah, I think Scott has a slightly different driving style, doesn't he, to Briggs and Shepherd? You can see him, he just wanted to come out there a little bit wider and try and cut the corner in and to try and get the drive on the way out. Maybe it didn't work for him as much. You can see him though, and Shepherd, he's looking for his moment though, and that's the experience, isn't it? Just waiting to make that move, and he saw it before. He just needs another chance. Like Shepherd has to be defensive again. He's on the inside of this right-hander.
Well, can Briggs return serve? I mean, this is almost identical move to what we saw just a lap ago.
And Briggs would have to know the move, doesn't he? He's seen it happen. Can he make it back? Looks like Scott's probably going to shut that down a little bit. It stays a little bit wide there, just in case he has to be defensive. He won't want to do that if he wants to go past Corey Shepherd. The last thing he needs to do is get caught into a battle there with him and Briggs, because Tom Freer now is starting to lurk in the background there. I'm just going to check out some of the time too. He's 1.3 seconds behind, but let's keep an eye on that to see Tom Freer start to close out, because Jordan Ross and him in a bit of a train with the Synergy guys. Those two have broken away now from Geordie Cine, and we'll just see how that works and how they can try and close that gap up there. As you can see though, as they come onto the main straight, though, Corey Shepherd just seems to drive away.
Yeah, I think that's just a little bit of how that car is set up. Watch him through turn 3. He takes a very different line to everyone else, really tries to straighten out the end of that corner to get the best acceleration possible, and it is working nicely for him there, especially in that hairpin. He's able to get a really solid drive. Further down the field, you had a couple of the Premier cars involved in some battling behind as we turn back up to the top 3 again. Not much separating them. I guess, Andrew, probably the biggest surprise here, obviously, the track temperatures have come down quite a bit since the start of the race. We know the sun's starting to set. The lap times have fallen off. Well, I know we've got a few battles going on. We're still, on average, 1.4 seconds away from what the quickest time has been achieved so far in the race for these guys. What do we think could be contributing to that at all?
I'm a little bit surprised about that, but this subtle battling we're seeing going on does definitely slow you down a little bit. So I am surprised to see Freer not really quite keeping up. Well, I say he's not quite keeping up. He's right there, but he's just not able to close the gap to the guys that are up ahead, even when they're battling. So although we're saying they might be slowing each other down just a little bit, and the times probably come down a little bit more than we expected, they're still going really fast. So no doubt the guys behind in the second battle pack there, they're going to have a hard time getting back up to a little bit of a move back on.
Yeah, you can see Scott's changing a little bit of attitude now, isn't he? That last lap, there was a bit more air between these guys, but the daylight, it's closing down. And he was very close before. I reckon if we went on a rear bar shot, we would have been looking through the front splitter there at James Scott's cars. We might see a bit of suspension work in a second. You can normally get close enough on the camera angle, and they don't actually touch when it comes to the simulation. Goes on the outside. Briggs, can he return serve again? But I think it's just James Scott going out wide when he knows he's got the gap to try and come in tight and get that real drive there to see if he can apply that pressure. Look at this. Shepherd, though, has to be so defensive now. Scott goes on the outside. Let's see what they can do. They head down to turn number 11. Shepherd's going to have the run in. Scott just needs to pull that nose in. Shepherd pulls it up. If he can just hold on to turn number 14, the turn onto the main straight. Shepherd seems to get a good drive off of that one compared to Scott. See how they go here. Shepherd pulls away. Can he open up this gap? He's going to pull over to the right-hand side. Scott's going to try and get the draft. What's Briggs going to do?
Well, I think if you're Adam at this point, you've got to hang in the back. Just let these two unravel themselves and then pick up that extra spot. Exactly the same thing that James did to him 3 laps ago.
And you notice in the lap times there, Briggs is faster than the 2 in front. And we're only talking by a hundredths of a second, but he's sitting in the background. He's not having to do those manoeuvres. He's not having to use the extra track to be defensive. He stays in the driving line, but look at Tom Freer. I spoke about it, 1.3 seconds, down to 1.18 at the moment. So a tenth of a second that lap now. So Tom Freer now being brought into the action, and you can see the lineup behind him. Jordan Ross, Geordie Sydney, Rick Kuznetsov. They're all involved. We've got 7 cars now who potentially could be on the podium here tonight. As James Scott comes down the inside, Corey Shepherd back on the racing line. There's nothing between them. Briggs, though, not going to do a dive on the inside this time. He's still got a few laps, so we've got 11 laps left in this race. As they go around, there is nothing between the top 3 at the moment, and Briggs, just another chess move there like Scott did to him before, just waiting, looking for that opportunity. James Scott just alters his driving line a bit there to try and get a bit more drive out of this one. Shepherd, they're going to stay in that defensive line, and Scott's not going to get that opportunity for a dive down the inside again. Oh, Shepherd goes wide. Scott knows. Did he get the drive done? Briggs, can he follow him? They're side by side. It's a drag race this time. They make contact. Oh, no. They can't pull over Briggs. Who does he follow at this point? Does he try and get behind James Scott, push the thing? Corey Shepherd gets back out on the racing line, see if he can turn it in this time. Briggs is going to put the nose in, keep him on there. Oh, lock up at the brakes. Shepherd tries to close it. They make contact.
How good is this fight? I mean, this is a cracking race to conclude. We're still 11 laps shy of the end of the race yet, and these guys are not leaving anything on the table here. This little 3-way battle now has brought Freer, Ross into contention as well. They're licking their lips getting into this action.
Well, that contact's really hurt Briggs. That's the one who's just, jumped off by half a second behind. He can make it back up, but look who it's invited. The Synergy guys are coming. Choo-choo. The Synergy train is on the way. And it's closing that gap down to Briggs here. A big lock up in front. Who was that? I'm trying to see if that was someone locking up in front. Oh, no. Corey Shepherd makes contact too. They're all being evasive. Now Tom Freer around the outside. Shepherd back to 4th. Jordan Ross now has a drive. He might get around him too. Can he make it? Jordan Ross on the outside though. Corey Shepherd on the inside. He's going to hold on to this position.
Well, I think that might have been David Coleman involved in that. We saw the Jeffrey Emery or Eddie car going off to Team 126 Racing as well. So a little bit of lap traffic just getting caught up in that one. Here's a look at the replay of how this one unfolded. So it's Coleman in front of this train here, loses it all on his own there again, snatches the rear brakes. Wait to see for Corey as he works his way through, nowhere to go. Tried to make the move there because Scott was also backed up there and just gets into the rear end of that Fisher Motorsports entry.
Yeah, a bit of bad luck still coming over from the Supercar E-Series as well for Corey Shepherd. You see the damage on the car, and Tom Freer though, he's the one who's jumped in. He's been slowly catching them, and that times are going down, and now he's on the podium at the moment. He needs to hold on this one. Jordan Ross gets back. Geordie Sydney had a bit of an attempt at him as well, his teammate, but it looks like they've sorted that one out. And Jordan Ross now all over the back of Corey Shepherd. Rick Kuznetsov just at the back as well in the Premier Racing Team entry. So Corey Shepherd needs to regroup here. He's still got laps left. That's the main thing we've got to go here. We're on lap 52 of 62 as they come around to complete another lap. Lap 53 now. So 10 complete laps left in this race. So there is still time for Corey Shepherd, as long as that is not causing any issues on the front of that car, because there is a bit of damage on the right front.
Well, the biggest thing for him now is to shake off that little incident, just get the bum down focus. We can't have a look inside to see whether there's any steering damage or not, because he did hit it a little bit off center when he got into the back of that car. It looks all right in a straight line as he's able to hold off Ross. Here's the telltale shot as we jump on board. We'll see what it's like as he gets out the outside of that corner. Not too bad there, maybe just down a little bit in power.
Definitely will have straight line speed affected by that dent on the front nose.
Yeah, you can see Jordan Ross is looking pretty fast behind him, isn't he? So hopefully he can bring this home. I mean, they've opened up a little bit of a gap, but I suppose Dyso at this point, the heart is pumping.
Yes.
You've been dealt some bit of bad luck, really. That's all he's had in that fight. There were some back markers there. I mean, they don't get sideways. They don't lock the brakes up. We're not talking about the same thing. So at this point, though, from a driver's point of view, what do? Do you take a couple of laps just to reconcile yourself and then decide what you're going to do, or do you just get straight back into it?
If you're Shepherd, you're trying to get straight back into it and trying to get going again as soon as you can, because you've got Jordan Ross all over you, and Jordan's not going to be real happy about that, because he was right on the back of Freya, and Freya's kind of off into the distance now, and Jordan's been held up a little bit by how that whole kind of series of events unfolded. So he's going to be all over the back of Shepherd, and Shepherd's not really going to have much of a moment here to gather himself. He'll be, like I said, he'll be trying to get straight back into it as we see these guys getting really close together. That's Borgie on one of the Hayne boys down into turn 11.
Yeah, he's splitting the Hayne train up, mate. He's trying to get that position done. Can he get it done? Hayne's going to return serve now, the left-hander. Can he hold on to it? Borgie's not going to give up. He likes to drive around the outside. I've seen him do it a number of times, but he has to just duck in behind, maybe do the crisscross there. Sean Lindsell in the background, maybe take advantage of this one, but Borgie looks like he'll get that done, the experience, gets himself into the top 10, but he's already defensive, and Lindsell might be able to just make a meal of this one. Kenny, the double right-hander, he might be able to duck down the inside. Not going to happen on this one. Borg might be able to hold on to this, and it looks like he will. We'll see how these guys go over the next few laps, because there's that Rob Bowden in the background too, with Thomas Hinz behind him. So Hinz up 23 positions now to 14 with Brett Loxton behind him. I mean, that's got to be the team race so far of the night. Sean Lindsell now going to get a move done on Hayne as well. So Adam Hayne lost 2 positions in this last lap.
Yeah, a little bit of an issue there with the rear brakes. Again, just grabbing him at the critical moment there. He's able to get out of it, but does lose the position as a result. You see the brakes glowing red hot in the background, right behind Bowden and Hinz now have closed in on this battle. They have their own little exchange as they go around the outside. Bowden's going to make it very difficult, but Haynes should be able to slip one down the inside. Not quite close enough. He just pulls the nose out before they head through the left-right section and up towards another very big braking zone. We'll see where there's a little dive, maybe save it for turn 10.
Yeah, Bowden just let him know he was going to close that gap down, didn't he? Quite. Just showed him he was going to pull across. He didn't do it suddenly. He just kept the car going across and said, don't take the risk right now. Corey Shepherd has to watch out for Jordan Ross. So the battle for 4th position at the moment. Jordan Ross now, the 143, will just have to go back in that racing line. And this is almost a mirror image of what we saw with him and James Scott just a few laps ago. And Jordan Ross, I think, just gave him a little bit of a tap to say, come on, I'm fast, let me through. I want to go. The JK Science Sim Racing Mustang has some pace on it at the moment. Corey Shepherd just seems to have lost that pace with that damage on the car after coming into contact with some lap traffic a bit earlier. James Scott now moved away with the lead. He got half a second over Adam Briggs, and then it goes 1.6 seconds back to Tom Freer. They're your top 3. So we'll see what Jordan Ross can do. Maybe he can come home. Maybe we can get a 4-5 if him and Geordie City can make it past Corey Shepherd. But Shepherd looks quite fast in this part of the track.
Yeah, he's been very good through here in the previous laps where we watched that really solid 3-way battle and just picking up still where he needs to go. We've just seen the lap times have fallen off though. Last time for Shepherd, a 1:53.3. Compare that to the guys out front, 1:52.4 for our leaders. And I think with this slower pace that we're seeing ultimately from him, it's really put Jordan and Geordie City into that same battle, same group. Their pace has fallen off as well. Again, 1:53 for those guys. So Kuznetsov will close into this fight, and then it'll be interesting to see where the 4 decide to go. But unfortunately, the longer that Shepherd stays in front of Jordan Ross, the tougher it is going to be for him to get back up to his teammate in Tom Freer.
Yeah, so Hinz is just keeping this battle alive with Rob Bowden. It looks like they might have caught up to Adam Hayne as well. So Bowden's going to have to try and get past Adam Hayne, because I don't know what you do as Hinz at this point. You let Bowden just clear the way, maybe push Hayne out to the outside line and just stay in that back wing and keep that, because, you know, possibly Hayne here, if he doesn't watch himself, if Bowden goes through, Hinz and Loxton stay linked right to the back of him, he could possibly lose 3 positions in one corner here if he doesn't watch out. So Adam Hayne's going to have to get a little bit of a move on there in position number 12. But he is up 1 position on where he started though, so he's not having a bad race at all. As you can see the guys there, the brakes lit up in the background there for Thomas Hinz. So they're working the cars pretty hard at the moment. James Scott still leading us at the moment. Adam Briggs in second, Tom Freer in third, and then it's back to Corey Shepherd, Jordan Ross, Geordie City, Rick Kuznetsov, Brenton Hobson, Todd Hayne, and Brian Borg to round out your top 10 tonight as we are on lap 56 of 62. Only 6.5 laps remaining in this 300-kilometre race here at the Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. It's been a fantastic race so far. We wouldn't have thought Corey Shepherd would be back in 4th position, but you never know what's going to happen in a race. And there he is battling it out with Jordan Ross. As you see up on your screen now, they lock up at the brakes there, though, from Hayne as Hinds tries to go by. Adam Hayne just trying to get the car in the corner, and Hinds goes by Bowden. Loxton can't make it through as well. Bowden splits the two guys there from the Henry James Racing team, and they'll get in. Loxton looks like he's going to have a little bit of it. Just put the lights on and let him know he's there, as the sun is setting down here in Japan, though, and we are going to go into a little bit of night racing here for the final few laps of this race.
Yeah, it looks like that sun fully set now on the circuit, so that'll have taken away that little bit of trouble that we saw for the guys on the safety car restart. We had very low sunlight, very reminiscent of what the guys would experience going through 24 hours of Le Mans there. You can just see a little bit of orange tinge in the background, so not going to be too much of an impact for them. It'll just be now get the head down and bum up and use the lights to your advantage to work your way through, because this circuit, when it gets very dark, not the best lit circuit out there, so we'll make it a little bit tougher for the guys if it gets too much darker.
John Lindsay looks like he's on some good tyres at the moment, though. Really taking it to Brian Borg, who has to hold his line, really come down the inside line, make sure Lindsay can't do a dive at the moment, but Borg gets a nice run out of that one, staying from the inside out as Lindsay went a little bit wide, but he's not going to give up on this one. He needs to keep going because Adam Haynes under all sorts of pressure now from Thomas Hinds, and wouldn't be too long, I'd say, till Hinds has a little bit of a dive on that. And what a drive back it is from Thomas Hinds, up 23 positions at the moment, in 14th position. He has had a ripper night, despite not being in the qualifying. We know he normally qualifies a lot further up. He's had to work his way back to the pack, and he's down the inside line on Adam Hayne now. You'd expect he'd get this one done under brakes. Hayne tries to close the gap down. Not going to get it done, though. Hinds goes through. Bowden can't take advantage of it, and Loxton's still locked in behind.
Yeah, it's a fantastic race, and Dyson, I'm sure you're glad being on this side of the camera for a change, mate. You save a bit of fingernails there, but some of the action in the midfield, pretty intense.
Well, yeah, I can save on hydrating for the rest of the night after the race since I'm not out there and sweating it out. But no, it still gets a bit sweaty watching sometimes. Like we see Bowden there having a bit of a moment. That gets the sweats up a little bit, because this will be a bit of a battle now coming down to turn 4. And it looks like the 999's having a bit of an impromptu look at 209. I think that's Loxton. Gee, it gets a bit messy there. And that's what I mean, like, even just sitting here, you can get the sweats up and chew the fingernails off a little bit. But certainly I'd rather be out there getting amongst it.
Yeah, definitely. Next week, going to be an interesting one. Off to, oh, actually, we've got a couple of weeks off, break between this one and the next one. It's Barcelona. A little bit reminiscent of probably the middle section of this circuit, but what are your thoughts going forward for that one?
Yeah, don't mind Barcelona. It's a interesting little track. I'm not sure what layout we're running, but I hope it's the classic Grand Prix, because I don't mind that one without the little awkward chicane in the last sector there. So hopefully it's a nice layout that we're running. But yeah, track temp's normally really high there, really greasy track. So I might see a lot of cars slipping and sliding out there once we do get to that track in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's not a bad track at all.
Absolutely, plenty to look forward to, and still 5 nail-biting laps for these guys to work their way through, as Damien Johnston now trying to get a move done there on Brett Loxton. Loxton's going to hold him out as they work through 11 and 12. We have seen plenty of guys try and make that move work through the final corner. Bowden's going to set himself up for a bit of a run there as Loxton goes around, helped by Johnston, so that will definitely catch the attention of race control.
Well, as Loxton actually made a little bit of contact earlier there with Rob Bowden, so that was fairly heavy, though, that contact, wasn't it? And that's Damien Johnson. Will wait to see what race control has to say about that one. In the meantime, Brian Borg is still holding on to this position. He's had to fight it out, though, because Sean Lindsay, he wants it. He wants to be in the top 10. There is no doubt about it. He's running out of laps. Borgie is the king of defensive driving, I would say, at the moment. We've seen him do it last season. Well, we've seen him do it for a number of seasons there, but he can hold on to a position for so many laps. Will Sean Lindsay get the job done? He's on the outside there, and it's not the place you want to be if you want to make that move done, but he gets a good run this time. Can he stay down? It's probably not going to be a dive, though, into this corner, I wouldn't think. He's going to go into turn number 7. Probably not the place. So get around turn number 8 as well. Maybe down to 9. More likely as you go down out of the hairpin, maybe down that back straight, he can have another go there. He gets the inside down. He has a look. He's just looking for that run coming out of the left-hander, I think. There's a slight little straight here. Maybe there's an opportunity. He's on the outside now. He's definitely in front of Borgie, but can he hold on to it? Because Borg has the inside line. They set up the hairpin, the crisscross done.
Beautiful.
Lindsay gets it done. What a nice move there. Borgie just having to do everything he can to be defensive, and it cost him in the drive out of turn number 10. They go down the back straight, and Sean Lindsay just look at him drive away in the alcohol car. And Brian Borg will have to just get on the rear wing of that one, have a think, because Thomas Hinds is on the drive now, right behind the Henry James racing car. And while they've had this battle, he's had an opportunity to close that gap down.
Yeah, he'll get himself into that mix there. We're still seeing Borg, as a result of losing that position, just struggling to get the rear of the car working again. And that's been the theme of the night, unfortunately, for those guys, not quite having the grip, as we see one of the cars in the background just having a bit of a slide there, a lap down, unfortunately not in the contention. But yeah, just working their way through nicely. And for Linsell, that was a great set-up move. You know, push Borg wide. Borg made a little bit of an error on the initial braking phase there, and similar to what we've seen from Corey Shepherd earlier in this stint, just running wide in that turn 10 section of the circuit. So we'll get back underway and should be able to work his way through. Christian Smart, though, got mirrors full of Adam Haynes working through, and then back to this battle between Linsell and Borg. Not much separating either of these two now.
Hey Norrie, just having a quick look through the field, is there anyone you think might be at risk of fuel on the very edge, or you reckon we're all safe?
No, that safety car really saved everyone and made my abacus basically null and void. They're all good to go.
So tell us the final few laps. What changes can you see here? Who do you think can make up a couple of positions in the final couple of laps? Can Jordan Ross get Corey Shepherd and come in fourth position, do you think?
Jordan Ross has to get Corey Shepherd. Corey's been able to build that gap a little bit, but his car is damaged, so Jordan's really got it all to gain and nothing to lose by having a lunge. He takes a couple of his teammates with him, and they'll really bump Corey down the standings.
And no word on the Damien Johnson there after that contact earlier with Loxton, or he's still going through. It looks like he got a move done on Rob Bowden there. Maybe that has just been, the exchange has just happened back. Maybe Bowden's got that position back.
Yeah, nothing came across race control channel at all.
All right, there you go, boys. So Damien Johnson will live to fight on, and let's see where he ends up in this one at the moment, sitting in 16th position. So that'll be interesting. Sean Linsell still holding out over Brian Borg, and as we have seen though in previous races though, guys, we have had the post-race penalties come through. So just think about what we tell you tonight where they finish. Wait for the official results to come out, because sometimes we see those post-race penalties. It could be, you know, just a time delay, a time penalty there, and they might go back a few positions. And with everyone so bunched up in this area of the field, you know, a 10-second post-race penalty could really cost you in the standings. You know, I'll see what happens there. Sean Linsell, though, doing a nice job just holding out Brian Borg and just trying to keep that pace on. Thomas Hinds, though, he's only got a couple of laps left in this one. We're on lap number 60 of 62, so 3 laps remaining, or 2.5 laps remaining in this one. I need to make it happen. Everyone who thinks they've got the pace, Jordan Ross needs to have another go. Here we go. And who is this? This is the 440. This is Kuznetsov, though. On the outside, they make contact there with Jordan City. Return serve. They're both off. There's going to be a number of cars go through here, you'd think, wouldn't you? Brenton Hobson goes through. Oh, Kuznetsov rejoins the race. Cine in the background there, and I'm sure there'll be race control. Will be all over that one now, because double contact. It's not like the rugby rule, first knock on. No, it's we can't go back, boys.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to see how they adjudicate. We'll have a look on board here. So Kuznetsov trying to make the move, just heading under Bridgestone there. A little bit of a slide from Cine. That really just opens the door, and for Rick now gets the nose in nicely down the inside. Same spot where we saw James Scott get that move done on Adam Briggs. Up the inside though, Cine's able to keep the car there. You can just see him run maybe just a fraction wide, gets into the door, and then both cars off as they run through that corner there. And unfortunately for Cine, he fell a fair bit further down the order.
Yeah, let's have a look. We'll check on board though with Cine and see how we see it from his angle though.
As they kind of came up here, it looks like Jordan decided to go on with it, but not really a whole lot in it when they come into this left hand here. I think it's turn 7, but more than anything, a little bit of net code, maybe a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact in that, which has kind of sent Rick around, and in turn that's ended up putting Rick into the side of Geordie, which is not really ideal. I'm sure both those guys didn't want it to end up that way, but that's racing.
No, I think Geordie might have got a wheel on the grass or two, and you go around that corner there and drop 2 wheels on the grass. It's going to slide, isn't it, really, under that acceleration. So a slight wiggle on the back end, and then all of a sudden you're just touching the car alongside. So it was good racing up until that point. So we'll leave that one on race control. Sean Lindsell now, position number 9, Brian Borg in 10. So looks like they haven't been able to get past Kuznetsov either, but they've managed to go past, obviously, Geordie City dropping back a number of positions there. Still looking at Corey Shepherd, though, holding out Jordan Ross. So Corey Shepherd still in that 4th position, and Jordan Ross is closing the daylight down. It's down to half a second, and we're down to the final parts of this race. Of course, a lap and a half left to go, and Corey Shepherd doesn't look like he's under too much threat from Jordan Ross at the moment, but it's still a possibility. Tom Freer, though, just out in a bit of free air now, trying to hold on to the final podium position there in P3. What a lucky night for him. I mean, he had a good qualifying session there. He started out of position number 3, went back down a little bit, though, and just waited his time. He could see the top 3. They were in his vision out of his front window, but he wasn't close enough to catch him. And then the racing incident happens, and Tom Freer gets back in, makes that position back. Wow, was that? We check out the replays. This Damien Johnson there decides it's going to be a drift circuit there, and it's a bit of the drift series going on. And does he realise the race isn't over yet, or is he having fun, or is that actually him just losing control and managing to hold on to it for a number of laps, a number of corners?
Well, it looked pretty controlled from that point of view, right up until the part where he lost the rear and spun around. So I think just having a little bit of fun, went probably the lap early, but yeah, good seeing him still having a crack nonetheless. This battle between Lindsell and Borg still going. Borg going to look very, very racy. He's got 11 corners here to try and get a move done. Not going to make it stick into 2. What can he do on the drive out through 3? A little bit of lap traffic to contend with as well. He might be able to use one of these cars as a bit of a pick and try and get down the inside on Lindsell there. Any words that at this point, Andrew, you might be trying to get to Lindsell just to help him out?
Well, yeah, this battle's been raging, hasn't it, on the last lap now. So it looks like there's a bit of a gap between them. So Lindsell will be enjoying that little reprieve he's got with Borgie falling back a little bit. But it's been a real psychological test for Sean, actually, with Borgie all over the back of him. We know how aggressive Borgie is, and we know how staunch he is in his defence as well, which was really interesting to see a few laps ago. But look, good to see. I'd say he's got that job done now.
Well, final lap of the race at the moment. James Scott's leading us. Adam Briggs behind as they go around. So final lap of the race. Last couple of corners, I head down to turn number 11 there. So I go 11, 12, 13, 14, and we will finish this race very shortly. Get through this last little part. James Scott, our leader. He fought his way back. He started out at position number 1 on the front row alongside Corey Shepherd. It's just another race where they started alongside. James Scott, though, brings it home in his 4th race of the series, his 3rd podium. And how does he get there? Briggsy in 2nd. Tom Freer waiting for him to cross the line, gets 3rd. Corey Shepherd ends up in 4th. Jordan Ross 5th. Waiting for Brenton Hobson to cross the line now and get that official result there. As they come across, but your top 5, of course, James Scott, Adam Briggs, Tom Freer, Corey Shepherd, Jordan Ross, Brenton Hobson, then Rick Kuznetsov manages to get it home after that incident in 7th, Todd Hayne in 8th, Sean Lindsell in 9th, Brian Borg in 10th, he gets himself a top 10 finish. Thomas Hiddens, that amazing race to get back into P11, 26 positions. Geordie City drops back to P12 after that incident. Christian Smart in 13th, Adam Hayne in 14th, Rob Bowden in 15th, Jamie Dyke 16th, 17th, Stephen Varga, 18th, Sebastian Tixia. And we wait for the cards to come across. You can see up on our screen the celebrations, the lights flash. And that'll be Sebastian Flockedy across in 19, Aaron Gilbert in 20, Brett Loxton in 21, Jaden Borg in 22. And they keep coming through. But I tell you what, guys, what a drive from James Scott. He waited for his moments. He picked them off, didn't he, at the right times. He played the perfect game of chess.
It was a fantastic drive all the way through the night. Off the pole position, got a very good jump early on. The pit strategy was a little interesting to us. I mean, we ran very late in that sense, and it all came to a head right at the end there. And then that fantastic battle that we saw between himself, Shepherd, and Briggs to conclude the race, pretty much from the start or the restart after the safety car, was near perfect. He got a very nice run up the inside of Adam after that little bit of a move from Briggs on Shepherd, and just played the game beautifully after that.
Yeah, look, Briggs for me was impressive tonight as well, because what a race from him. I mean, he held in there. James Scott obviously had the pace tonight, but Adam Briggs makes it up from the second row, ends up in second position on the podium again after winning last week. So he's definitely on a little bit of a roll at the moment. It's good to see the DPR boys obviously finding that setup there for Briggs. He's quite comfortable in the car at 2 different tracks now. He had the pace there with Corey Shepherd though and James Scott. Like in the end, he was only a second and a half behind James Scott, which was fantastic to see. I think as we go further into this season number 11 here for the Jinx Shifters AOSC, I think we're going to see Briggsy really start to take that battle fight to him. He's in 3rd position in the points now. That's really going to help him catch up to Corey Shepherd tonight. He'll start to chip away at that one. But Daiso, for you, that means he's even closer to you, mate.
Well,
He's probably going to get past you tonight.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a drop round 100%. But it's great to see the guys have good results tonight. Linsell coming in the top 10. I'm probably a little bit biased, but hey, it was really disappointing and probably a bit unlucky to see Sheppo get involved in that accident with the back marker. It kind of spiced up the race a little bit, but probably robbed us of a bit of a battle there towards the end of the race, which I think that would have raged on certainly for the next 11 or 10 laps or so, whatever that was. But still a great effort to manage to stay in front of the synergy train, the choo-choo train for Shepard there, of Ross Hobson and Geordie, who was also there for a little bit. So yeah, still a great effort from all the guys up the front.
Yeah, look, we can't take past Tom Freer either. I mean, he's the pace he had tonight. He kept to his strategy. Probably played in his favour. He's been a bit unlucky in season number 10 with safety cars, but tonight it all worked out for him. He played his cards right. Probably would have ended up 4th if Corey Shepherd hadn't got involved in the incident, but Tom Freer brings us home in 3rd to round out our podium. So there it is. Our results up on your screen. If you want to see for race number 6 here of the AOSC11, all thanks to Jinx Shifters. James Scott takes the win here tonight. Adam Briggs in 2nd. Tom Freer in 3rd. Corey Shepherd 4th. Jordan Ross in 5th. Brenton Hobson in 6th. Rick Kuznetsov in 7th. Todd Hayne in 8th. Sean Lindsell in 9th. Brian Borg in 10th. Thomas Hinds in 11th. Geordie Sinney in 12th. Christian Smart in 13, Adam Hayne 14, Rob Bowden in 15, 16th with Jamie Dykes, 17th Stephen Varga, who was in a great number of battles there tonight, Sebastian Texia in 18 in the Premier Racing Team entry. Then we go back to Sebastian Flock in 19, then it's Aaron Gilbert in 20, Brett Loxton in 21, Jaden Borg in 22, Nicholas Timors in 23, Damien Johnson 24, Matthew Brunt in 25th, Chris Barnes in 26th, Greg Sharp 27th, 28th was Simon Mazomo, who had a few come unstuck tonight a little bit. Party Marty Hansen in 29, Harry Dodds in 30, Nathan Moore in 31, Jeffrey Eddy from the Team 126 entry in 32, Alex Newton in 33, Anthony Visma in 34, David Coleman in 35, Matthew Clout in 36th, then it was Stephen Kokoschki in 37th and Michael Schroeder in 38th here tonight. 39th was, well, they were our safety drivers, weren't they? So Mr. Dyson, mate, he didn't even make it in the race. I don't know what happened to that bloke.
Oh, yeah, tell you, big mischief, mate. Big electrical drama stuff. No, look, I'm actually really surprised. My internet hasn't dropped out since the start of the race, so maybe I could have jumped in and kind of trundled around 1 lap down, but no, that wouldn't have been a lot of fun. I'd much prefer to be up here with you guys tonight.
Well, you know, it's been great to have you actually in the commentary box. I need to thank you for jumping in tonight because it's great to get a bit of an insight. But I mean, Dan, we got the winner in here, so you want to have a chat with him?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Joining us in the commentary box tonight, round 6 winner, James Scott. James, congratulations on the win, mate. It was a fantastic drive for yourself and the Logitech G team. Talk us through it from basically the start of the race, obviously pole position, and some very interesting strategy plays throughout the course of the race.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously being a 300-kilometer race, there's going to be plenty of strategy throughout the race with everyone doing something different, but it usually all sort of congregates at the end to be pretty close. But yeah, this was a bit of a late thing to race tonight. Jordan Ross actually messaged me last night and said, "Are you going to race?" And I said, "Well, I hadn't really thought about it." And then yeah, I thought there's nothing else to do, so jumped on and turned out okay.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it was great to see you back out on circuit tonight. We have missed you a bit over the course of this championship. Well, obviously a few other commitments in tow that you're working on. But talk us back through the final restart of the race. Obviously, we had the one safety car there tonight. It was very hotly contested top 3 between yourself, Adam Briggs, Corey Shepherd. Briggs managed to get the move done. Well, actually, he managed to get through you. There was a little bit of a bobble that we saw coming out of that final corner, the second lap after the safety car. What transpired there?
Yeah, I obviously didn't get a very good restart. I mean, I got a good initial jump, then got pretty sideways. And then I was thought I'd overlap on Corey on that second lap after the safety car, and sort of cut the grass, so I didn't turn him, not knowing there was a slowdown there, so that sort of hurt. But full credit to Adam. When I caught back up, he didn't fight it too much, and let Corey pull away, so that was always good.
Well, interesting to know. We kind of thought potentially there was a bit of an off-track excursion where we saw the car go through the grass, maybe a little bit of slowdown ensued from that one. Following that, though, you managed to close right up on the back of the guys there, and we saw you sort of hover in that third position for quite a while, just, I guess, gathering data on where the guys in front were going. And then with Adam trying to make a big move on Corey after laps and laps of applying the pressure, you were able to get a bit of an overlap and send one through down through pretty much the quickest section of the circuit there and get the nose through on the inside of Briggs.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I had to sort of, after that little go through the grass, had to make sure the tyres were back, had plenty of grip. And yeah, I saw Corey and Adam having a bit of a good battle, which was good to have the box seat to watch that one. But yeah, as I said before, full credit to Adam as well. He could have really fought that one and let Corey pull away at the front. And I don't know if we would have been able to catch him. But yeah, no, he didn't make it too hard, which was much appreciated.
No doubt, right. Well, look, congratulations on another AOSC victory. Hopefully, a few more in the bag for the course of the championship. Obviously, I'm going to say we know you got a few things on the go at the moment, but before we let you go and enjoy the celebrations, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
Yeah, obviously, like, great partners at Altus Esports, with Logitech G, Astro Gaming, Cube Controls, Own 3D, Race Tech Seats, Virtual Racing School, Sam Blacklock Media. And obviously, congrats to Adam and Tom on the podium, and unlucky for Corey getting caught up as well with, I think it was a lap car, having a bit of a moment at turn 2, I think it was. So yeah, unlucky for him, but well done to the other guys as well.
Yeah, definitely a little unfortunate there. That really ruined what would have been a great race to conclude this one out. But mate, congratulations. Wish you all the best going forward. Hopefully we'll see you back out on circuit again, as we say, and yeah, hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with you then. Matt, looks like we're going to get our second place runner-up in, Mr. Adam Briggs.
Some bloke from DPR, mate. Briggsy, it's what, a couple of weeks it's been, well, a couple of rounds it's been for you in the AOSC. A win a couple of weeks ago, and then you back it up with a second on the podium, but a pretty exciting race towards the end. How did your eyes open? How big did your eyes get when you saw Corey Shepherd come into contact with the back marker, and how evasive did you have to be?
Yeah, well, mate, to be honest, I saw James and Shepper go in there, and I thought, just coast and roll and see what happens, and just do a read and react and just see. And yeah, unfortunately the lap car just, I mean, it's hard to be harsh on them, but they really shouldn't be driving straight back out onto the track again. But
bit of Days of Thunder moment there, mate. Just go high and hope for the best. Pretty well. Yeah, you just gotta read and react as it happens, and give yourself the time to read and react as well. So, yeah, that's all I could do, and it worked out okay. And it was unlucky for Corey, and maybe lucky for the rest of us. So, look, fantastic from our point of view, viewing it tonight and taking it out on the broadcast, was the battles you had. I mean, you had the pace there with both James Scott and Corey Shepherd, so you put yourself in the mix, and slightly different times in the pits between all three of you. You know, slightly different strategies. There are only minute differences. How much did you enjoy being there and keeping that battle between the three of you?
Yeah, I thought it was really remarkable. I didn't think I would have I didn't think I'd be as competitive as I was. So I was really, really happy with that. And there were plenty of times where you have those extra pit stops. You don't have to do a rash move. You can have a think about it and see if you can put some intelligence into it and come out with another way of achieving that aim. And I really think that produces a fantastic result in terms of the race quality and stuff like that as well. So that's really good.
Yeah, and I mean, you three at the front, it really goes to show the pedigree you guys are at, because nice, clean racing there. And I mean, James Scott later on in the race took that dive, but you made room for each other. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. You must have had a great time tonight. how much did you enjoy this layout here? I mean, the Grand Prix layout here at the Twin Ring. I mean, it's great. I think it's technical. It gives you opportunity to overtake though as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of variety of corners as well. There's like short radius stuff, long radius stuff, uphill, downhill, off camber, on camber. It goes under a bridge. You know, there's a little bit of everything. And it's a strange track to set up for. You've got to have a pretty good balance the whole way around, and that's hard to do with all the variety of corners. So yeah, again, I was just really impressed. Surprised, impressed maybe with the pace that we had tonight, and I'll take it when it comes.
Well, the bad news is there's good news and bad news tonight. The good news and bad news is you're going to go past Daiso in the championship points, but you're sort of closing that gap up to Corey Shepherd a little bit. He's still going to come out of this one on top, but you're maintaining that top 3 position in the championship for yourself, and really is a good step, you know, considering about a third of the way through the championship so far. How do you feel? Are you pretty comfortable there? You think you've got it to take it all the way, championship fight to the end?
I think you just try and do the best race you can. Daiso had a really unfortunate thing where his internet's been flaky pretty much all night. So it only takes one of those to really throw a spanner in the works. You can't look too far ahead. You just got to sort of focus on this week and next week, and that's really where your focus needs to be.
All right, mate, we'll run through your sponsors. Fantastic race tonight.
Yeah, thank you for AOSC, the commentary team, the admin team, and everyone behind the scenes, and the broadcast team as well. And yeah, we've got simrigs.com on the car. Obviously, they're a big supporter of ours and have been there for a long time. Southwell Lifts and Hoist, Ben Max Mechanical, BetSmart Racing Services, Alcohol to make a fantastic range of products that you can use to keep your beer cold, and you've got Phoenix Smokers and P Designs as well.
He also said that if you beat him in the championship, he's putting the smoker on. He's going to cook for you.
I think there's going to be a smoker no matter what somehow.
we just got to let we got to let everyone out. That's all we got to do. We'll fly out there. I think we'll get the commentary team over there. Daiso's going to cook for all of us.
Yeah, the smoker's always fired up for you boys. Don't worry about that.
Oh, he's been giving you trade secrets away, mate, on the live broadcast. I don't know why we let him in.
None of the sort. None of the sort. No,
I'll watch it back later. It's all good. Daiso knows what's up, so it's all good.
Oh, look, mate, congratulations tonight on the second place. And let's see how you go in a couple of weeks when we head to Barcelona. It's going to be another fantastic race there, and can't wait to see if we can get you back on another podium.
Yeah, Barker's a fantastic track. Me and Dyson have got some pretty good memories of doing enduros there. So, yeah, we'll give it a good shake, that's for sure.
All right, mate, we'll let you go, and we're bringing our third place getter and the leader of the Synergy Sim Racing train, Tom Freer, mate, starting out of the second row tonight in P3, and that's where you boarded home, and probably a bit lucky in towards the end there, just sitting back and waiting for that opportune moment, and it came to you.
Yeah, it was, I think, very lucky is a good way to put it. Corey obviously got caught up with that lap car, which let us go by, but yeah, all in all, pretty good, pretty happy with P3, and I think it's nice to finally sort of get a result that means something.
Well, the team's looking strong as well, mate, because I'm looking at the Synergy Sim Racing guys. I mean, I know there's quite a few of you at the moment, but 3rd, 5th, 6th, and probably unlucky not to have 7th there after a bit of a racing incident there with Geordie Sydney. So the Synergy guys, you've obviously getting the car set up very good.
Yeah, definitely. I think like Jordan and all the guys behind the scenes have put a lot of work into making the car fast, and it's just been a little bit of hit and miss along the way, but I think we've sort of finally got a base that we can use everywhere and get results from, and I think that's showing. Like the whole team seems to be improving week on week, and yeah, to have a bit of a synergy train in the championships, pretty cool as well.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're starting to bunch up in the championship points as well. I mean, last week was the same. You had a really good qualifying there, and you came home with a strong result last week as well. So do you think that's some good momentum from the team heading into round number 7? You know, sort of we're starting to get towards the halfway point of the championship after the next round, but the momentum's starting to come to your team?
Yeah, definitely. I think the big bonus for us is we've recently picked up Jackson Harlow, which has been a really good signing for us. It's a guy who's super fast, super experienced, and I think he's lifted everyone within the team. We've got a little bit of motivation back, and we're all sort of working as hard as we can to bridge the gap to the faster guys, I think. But yeah, I definitely think there'll be momentum from Synergy in the back half of the season. I think if you look at recent seasons, we've always sort of been stronger in the second half.
Mate, it's been a fantastic race tonight, and look, you know, it's bad luck for Corey Shepherd tonight. He ends up in 4th position, but I mean, you were there, you weren't too far behind. It was only 1.3 seconds, I think, before that incident. So you had to be there, though, to take that position. So big congratulations to you. You get a podium tonight in 3rd position. Mate, do a shout out to all your sponsors.
Yeah, just a big thanks firstly to you guys for doing the broadcast and doing the amazing work you guys do behind the scenes to make this sort of run. Also, big thank you to Synergy Sim Racing, JK Science, Posie's Mechanical, Smith & Sons. Those guys obviously help us out and, yeah, give us a good stepping stone to go into each race. So, yeah, thank you.
Look, mate, and the Synergy Sim boys, yeah, they're definitely up there in the top 10. There's a few names there now, so we'll wait to see, and we hope to see a bit more of you in the back 2/3 of the championship, mate. Can't wait to hear from you again, and well done tonight.
Thanks, mate.
Well, there it is, Dan. I mean, what an exciting race towards the end. Like we say, a bit of unfortunate stuff there for Corey Shepherd, but it had everything, didn't it, tonight? We had battles going on further down the pack. We had battles going on at the front. We had mishaps happening. We had people down the back getting involved in some stuff. It was fantastic to watch.
Well, yeah, you pretty well just summarised everything perfectly. It was a race of everything, you know, from the unfortunate where a few drivers weren't able to make the start, through to some fantastic racing all the way through. Didn't matter whether it was in the opening stint, right through the middle, or the conclusion of what we saw at the end there. We saw some fantastic battling right the way through the field. Looking forward to what we're going to see next time out. We've got a little bit of a reprieve now until the 24th. And then we're off to Barcelona, the historic layout. So for Mr. Dyson, I'm sure he'll be a little bit happier with that one. We don't have the tricky technical chicane at the end of that race. But looking forward to that one. It's going back to the 150 sprint round format that we know and love. And it's going to be a very interesting run to see how the guys manage to go through. Will we see Adam Briggs get up there, take the P1 spot? Will Corey be able to bounce back after the incidents that he saw at the end of this one? But whatever happens, it's going to be a cracking race to watch.
Well, obviously, stay tuned to all of our social sites if you want to catch up with what the final results are in case there were some post-race penalties. We don't know. We'll wait to find out. But as far as we know, Corey Shepherd will go away still leading this championship out in front. So he still has a strong lead in that one. And can he take that to the end of this series? We'll have to find out. Of course, that is the end of our race here tonight at the Twin Ring Motegi in Japan, though. All thanks to Jinx Shifters, RaceKraft Simulations, our other sponsors, AJ Insurance Services, SimRigs.com, Race Circuit Art Australia, Track Cams for Gourmets, Acuta, and of course, Team 126 Racing. Thank you for joining us tonight here on the broadcast. We hope you had a fantastic time. We hope you enjoyed the race as much as we did here in the commentary box. And we're going to see you in 3 weeks when we come to you from Barcelona for race number 1.